Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please set our humble obeisances.
Jai, please set mine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. How's everybody doing?
Good, Mataji.
Okay. So, shall I start?
Please, Mataji.
Okay. So, welcome back, everyone, to Bhakti Vaibhava, Canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashadade Shatarane. Jai. So welcome everyone back, class. Today we're going to cover chapters 10 and 11. So let's get started here. Chapter 10 is Dhruva Maharaj's fight with the Yakshas. So we saw in previous chapters about how Dhruva, he went to the forest, he did severe austerities, he saw the Lord, he was blessed by the Lord with all kinds of blessings, material blessings and spiritual blessings, and even some of the things that he wasn't so proud of desiring, he got those desires fulfilled. We're going to see that happening in this chapter 10. And he goes back home and everybody's happy. They receive him with a big fanfare. And then his father, Maharaj Uttanapad, in due course of time, leaves home and goes to the forest to take vanaprastha and absorb himself in thoughts of the Lord. So that's where we pick up here. So text 1. Maitreya Vacha Prajapater Duhitaram Shishumarasya Vaidhruva Upayeme Brahmim Nama Tatsuto Kalpavatsaro. Someone please read texts 1 to 5.
Hare Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Text 1. The great sage Maitreya said, My dear Vidur, thereafter Dhruv Maharaj married the daughter of Prajapati Shishumar, whose name was Brahmi, and two sons named Kalpa and Vatsar were born of her. Text 2. The greatly powerful Dhruv Maharaj had another wife named Ila, who was the daughter of the demigod Vayu. By her he begot a son named Utkal and a very beautiful daughter. Text 3. Dhruv Maharaj's younger brother Uttama, who was still unmarried, once went on a hunting excursion and was killed by a powerful yaksha in the Himalayan mountains. Along with him, his mother Suruchi also followed the path of her son. She died. Text 4. When Dhruv Maharaj heard of the killing of his brother Uttama by the yakshas in the Himalayan mountains, being overwhelmed with lamentation and anger, he got on his chariot and went out for victory over the city of the yakshas, Alkapuri. Text 5. Dhruv Maharaj went to the northern side direction of the Himalayan range. In a valley, he saw a city full of ghostly persons who were followers of Lord Shiva.
Thank you very much. All right, so here we see that just as Lord Vishnu had said back in chapter 9, text 23, he said, sometime in the future, your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother Suruchi, being maddened upon the death of her son, will go search him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire. So exactly as the Lord had foretold, this is what happened. And Dhruva Maharaj becomes very angry. So this is a little surprising because we had just heard in the previous chapters how Dhruva, after seeing the Lord, being touched by the Lord, that he was purified of all material contamination, that he was free from all dualities, especially he lost this whole concept of friends and enemies, because the whole thing started because he was seeing his stepmother and his brother as his enemies, and he wanted to get revenge against them and all that. So, but then it's mentioned that he no longer, because of attaining, transcendence, being totally purified, he was free from this duality of friendship and enemies. So how is it now that he's getting angry and wanting to kill the yakshas, considering them his enemies?
Because now he was ruling the kingdom and it was his duty to protect the citizens.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's a Kshatriya, he's the king. And Kshatriya means literally protect from harm. So as the king, it's his responsibility to take action when an innocent person is murdered, like that. Yeah. Also, we could say that he's also a devotee. So we know that devotees actually should get angry. That's the proper use of anger, is when a Vaishnava is offended.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're not sure if Uttama, his brother, was a Vaishnava, but yeah, we shouldn't get angry when we are offended, but if somebody else is mistreated, then we should get angry. So this was actually proper use of anger, whereas in the first case, it was improper anger because it was about an offense to himself. So Dhruva was angry at the yakshas. So who are the yakshas? In texts 3 and 4, the Sanskrit word that's used for the yakshas is actually punya jana, which means good people or pious people. And the yakshas are in the category of upadeva, which means almost demigods, nearly demigods. So the other groups of beings in that upadeva category are like the Kanaras, the Vidyadharas, the Gandharvas, Pishachas, Rakshasas, and Guyakas, all these beings that usually are on Bhuvarloka. But the yakshas, particularly punya, they're called punya jana because they're usually benevolent, but they can often be very mischievous, as we see. And that's because the role that they play is that as servants of Kuvera, who is their master, Kuvera is the god of wealth. So he engages these yakshas in taking care of the earth's wealth, like gold and jewels. which are often found on mountains or even sometimes under the roots of trees. So we hear stories, throughout the Puranas and different literatures about yakshas hiding in trees to protect the jewels that are under the roots of those trees, or yakshas living in mountains. Like before I became a devotee, I was hiking in the Himalayas, and I went up to Mount Everest base camp, which is quite high elevation. And there was one snowy mountain there that my guide pointed out. He said that there's a lot of gold on that mountain. And many people have tried to go there to excavate the gold, but everyone who goes there dies because there's a yaksha that lives there. I said, what is a yaksha? And he said, it's like a ghost. It's a ghost, but it's more powerful than an ordinary human ghost. So humans cannot contend with yakshas generally, because they're higher beings. They're almost demigods. But at the same time, the yakshas are usually worshippers of Lord Shiva, but they also appreciate Krishna, because we see that whenever Krishna, when he appears or when he kills a demon or he does something wonderful and all the demigods come to shower flowers, usually the Kinnaras, the Gandharvas, the yakshas, they're all there too, showering flowers or somehow, celebrating Krishna's triumph. So they do have a good side, but mainly they're in the mode of ignorance, and they tend to eat meat, and they often use their higher powers to harass humans. So this is what we're going to see in this chapter. We're not going to see the good side. We're going to see the side that's mischievous and tricky, and they're particularly famous for illusions. So we're going to see that manifesting here in this chapter. All right. So then Dhruva's, he's angry. He's going to try to get justice against the murder of his brother. And so he goes to Alakapuri. Now let's read text 6 to 12 to find out what happens there.
Text 6. Maitreya continued, my dear Vedar, as soon as Dhruva Maharaj reached Alkapuri, he immediately blew his conch shell, and the sound reverberated throughout the entire sky and in every direction. Wives of the Rakshas became very much frightened. From their eyes, it was apparent that they were full of anxiety. Text 7. O hero Vidar, greatly powerful heroes of the Yakshas, unable to tolerate the resounding vibration of the conch shell of Dhruva Maharaj, came forth from their city with weapons and attacked Dhruva. Text 8. Dhruva Maharaj, who was a great charioteer and certainly a great bowman also, immediately began to kill them, simultaneously discharging arrows 3 at a time. Text 9. When the heroes of the Yakshas saw that all their heads were being thus threatened by Dhruva Maharaj, could very easily understand their awkward position, and they concluded that they would certainly be defeated. As heroes, ordered the action of Dhruva. Text 10. Just like serpents, who cannot tolerate being trampled upon by anyone's feet, Yakshas, being intolerant of the wonderful prowess of Dhruva Maharaj, twice as many arrows, 6 from each of their soldiers, and thus they were very valiantly exhibited their prowess. Text 11. Yaksha soldiers were 130,000 strong, all greatly angry and all desiring to defeat the wonderful activities of Dhruva Maharaj. With full strength, they showered upon Maharaj Dhruva, along with his chariot and charioteer, various types of feathered arrows, parigrahas, iron bludgeons, nistrimsas, swords, prasasulas, tridents, parsavadhas, lances, shaktis, pikes, rishtis, spears, and Bhushundi weapons.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. So Dhruva Maharaj went there, and the first thing that he did was blow his conch. it's mentioned Dadmo Shankam. And the similar thing, of course, happened at the Battle of Kurukshetra. It says Bhishma Dev in Bhagavad Gita 1:12, Shankam Dadmo Pratapavam. And then the Pandavas, Shankam Dadmo Pritak Pritak. Each one separately blew their conch shell. So this blowing of the conch is like a war cry, like, come on, stand up and fight, we're ready for battle. And so Dhruva Maharaj goes in there and he blows his conch. And then just like the blowing of the Pandavas' conch shells shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra, we see that the blowing of the conch shell of Dhruva's conch shell was intolerable for the yakshas, and it frightened their wives. It had a similar effect. And that's because the conch, of course, is the symbol of Lord Vishnu. And it brings about auspiciousness. It creates an auspicious sound, which drives away inauspicious elements. So the yakshas, they can't tolerate this blowing of the conch. So they come out, and Dhruva Maharaj immediately just starts shooting them down. And it says, tribi, that 3 arrows at a time. So Arjuna was just like mowing them down. They were coming towards him, and they were just coming out and falling. It says that apatata, they were falling, ekam, one after another. So they're just running towards him and just falling. They couldn't come close to him because before they could get anywhere near him, they were just all falling, row after row of them. And Dhruva Maharaj is described in text 8 as Vira, a great hero, and Ugra Danva, which means, Ugra means terrible or terrifying, and Danva means bowman, terrifying bowman. And also as a Maharata, a person who can fight with many chariots. So Dhruva had to be a Maharata in this case, because there were 130,000 angry yakshas coming towards him. And he was just one young Dhruva Maharaj. He was a young man. So, but he was holding his own against the yakshas. And but the yakshas, they didn't become discouraged. In fact, seeing his fighting spirit, they praised him. So this we see as like typical of the Kshatriya spirit, that even though your enemy is killing all of your army, you're still like, wow, well done. That's so impressive. Look at him go, They're appreciating. Who can understand, the Kshatriya mentality. And when they saw that, they actually got encouraged. And then they stepped up their attack. So Dhruva Maharaj was firing 3 arrows at a time. The yakshas started firing 6 arrows at a time. So now it's 130,000 yaksha soldiers times 6. That's 780,000 weapons coming at Dhruva like every second. Can you imagine? Yeah. And it was all kinds of weapons. It wasn't just arrows. We're hearing that it's bludgeons and swords and tridents, lances, pikes, spears. It's like all kinds of things coming at him, and 780,000. That's like almost 1 million. That's almost 1 million weapons all at once. And in text 13, it says, Dhruva Maharaj was completely covered by an incessant shower of weapons, just as a mountain is covered by incessant rainfall. So it literally says Shastra Varshena Bhurina. So Varshena, it means rain, and Bhurina means heavy rain. So Shastra means weapon. Shastra Varshena Bhurina, the weapons were like a heavy rain. They were just, if you're caught in a heavy rain where it's just lashing down, pounding on you, then like imagine every raindrop in a heavy rainstorm to be like a spear or a sword or a bludgeon or a club. That's like a very difficult situation. So in this section here from text 13 to 17, we see a lot of poetry. Maitreya, he uses some very beautiful language full of similes and metaphors to describe the battle. And we know that one of the 26 qualities of a devotee is that they are kavi, they're poetic. So Maitreya is exhibiting his poetic expertise here in these verses, which are full of beautiful literary ornaments. So let's read those. Maybe we can just read these one by one, because then we can look at the language a little more carefully. So let's see. All right, I just read text 13. So I'm going to ask you to analyze these a little bit. Look at the similes, the metaphors, the things that Maitreya is comparing things to, and what is the significance of those comparisons. So first of all, in text 13, he's saying about how Dhruva was covered with a shower of weapons, like a mountain covered by incessant rainfall. So what are some of the things that indicates, if you think of what rainfall does to a mountain? What is happening here in relation to Dhruva Maharaj? And there are some clues in the purport. Yes, Antaryami Balaram Prabhu.
Mataji, Prabhupada is saying that this incessant rain or the shower of the arrows actually encouraged Dhruv Maharaj to defeat them. So it gave him an enthusiasm that, okay, so many weapons are coming, I should also up my game and defeat them. So these arrows made him more capable and more enthusiasm in him. That's what I understand.
Yes, but how is that related to the rain on the mountain?
Prabhupada is saying that it is washing away the dirt on the mountain. So
Okay,
that's
good. So just like the rain pours down the mountain and washes away it just cleans everything, right? So the same way, this incessant shower of arrows was actually washing away any incompetency that Dhruva Maharaj might have had. And Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, also that although just as a mountain, although engulfed by heavy torrential rain, seems to be overpowered by the rain, but the rain is not able to do much to the mountain because the mountain is so strong and so sturdy. So the same way, yeah, Dhruv Maharaj is, although covered by all these weapons and everything, they're falling at him at such speed, but they seem to be of no harm, capable of causing no harm to him.
Okay, good. Yeah, great. Rukmini?
Mataji, a great Kshatriya always wants to fight with a good, competent party, the opposite party. So it was coming in my mind that if you say it's a great Kshatriya to fight with any low, so in fact, he would not enjoy. And Kshatriya actually enjoys fighting. And Kshatriya has a fighting spirit in them. And so this was enthusing Dhruv Maharaj to fight, to fight.
But how is it related to the mountain and the rain?
Yes. So as mountain, Mataji, mountains, if we can say that there are very heavy rain in the mountains and it might, it's not good for mountain, but actually that is good for the mountain. So same in the at the time, same with the Dhruv Maharaj. So now he's getting more, the word is using vigor to defeat them. So he's getting both, and his enthusiasm is getting increased. Now he's taking much interest in fighting. So the level is like.
So like when rain goes on, when there's a nice rain on a mountain, then the mountain, everything is refreshed, right? The rocks on the mountain are all nice and wet and shiny, and the nice green grass grows. It all becomes fresh and invigorated. So in the same way, Dhruva was actually invigorated and refreshed by these arrows that were falling on him. Okay, good. Let's go to the next one. So I'll read, and then you are going to comment on these analogies. So text 14. All the siddhas from the higher planetary systems were observing the fight from the sky. And when they saw that Dhruva Maharaj had been covered by the incessant arrows of the enemy, they roared tumultuously. The grandson of Manu, Dhruva, is now lost. They cried that Dhruva Maharaj was just like the sun that had now set within the ocean of yakshas. So this is the analogy here is that Dhruva was like the sun that had set within the ocean of yakshas, or at least that's how the siddhas were seeing it. So what is the significance here? Ganga Shakti Mataji.
Mataji, just as the sun, when it sets, it seems that the ocean has consumed it and that it will never resurface. But that's not true. So the same way here, while Dhruv Maharaj is under attack apparently by the yakshas, and it seems that he has lost. But obviously we will see in subsequent verses that that is not how it is.
Okay, so just like the sun is going to rise again, Dhruva is also going to re-emerge victorious, although we can't see him for the time being. Rukmini Hari Sevani, something to add there?
Mataji, sunrise give a new life, a new enthusiasm, a new day. But when sun sets, so it's like more tamaguna. In the sunrise, it's a satoguna. So same with here. So it giving feeling of moroseness, something like that. If sun is setting in the ocean, it's giving that feeling. And the feeling the siddhas from the higher planetary system had for Dhruv Maharaj. So
okay, good. That's great. Yeah. So for when the sun goes down, people become a little down, a little sad. Okay, time to go home, time to wind up the day, finish, go to sleep, get in the mode of ignorance. But that's just for the people who the sun leaves behind. But actually the sun itself is never in darkness, right? It's just when the sun goes out. So from the point of view of the siddhas, they were in darkness, but Dhruva is like the sun. He's never in darkness. So he's never morose. Okay, great. Text 15. The yakshas, being temporarily victorious, exclaimed that they had conquered Dhruva Maharaj. But in the meantime, Dhruva's chariot suddenly reappeared, just as the sun suddenly appears within foggy mist. So the sun appearing from foggy mist, how is that related to Dhruva? It's kind of similar. Yes, Antaryami Balaram.
Like Mati, the fog is temporary only. So, similarly, the strength of the yakshas were just temporary. For a time being, it seems that they were powerful, but ultimately, since the fog is temporary and the sun ultimately comes, so similarly, Dhruv Maharaj ultimately, appears winner, and the success of the yakshas are only temporary, like the fog.
Okay, good. Yeah, the fog just lingers there for a while in the morning, and it will be gone soon. Rukmini Hari Sevani.
Mataji, when there is a fog, it covers everything. It covers the sun as well. But it's just a temporary and just for time being. It's not for always. So same like with Dhruva Maharaj, when he appeared, so it was like sun is appearing from the foggy mist. When
Okay.
Dhruva Maharaj's chariot appeared.
All right. Thank you. Rai Ramananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. It is also mentioned that fog is very insignificant in comparison to the sun. So in similar way, the Dhruv Maharaj is like the sun and the Yakshas parties are insignificant like the fog.
Right. So yeah, while the fog is there, it seems, but as soon as the sun rises, the fog very soon dissipates. So this is indicating that Dhruva is going to rise again, and he is going to dissipate the Yaksha army. He's going to finish them off and have a glorious victory in the end. Okay, text 16. Let's read here. Dhruva Maharaj's bow and arrows twanged and hissed, causing lamentation in the hearts of his enemies. He began to shoot incessant arrows, shattering all their different weapons, just as the blasting wind scatters the assembled clouds in the sky. So the analogy is just as the blasting wind scatters the assembled clouds in the sky. Priya Satyabhama.
Hi, Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Mataji, just the way when the sun dissipates the clouds and suddenly there's a cool breeze going on, Similarly, the conch gives you a very nice sound also before you start the offerings to the Lord, and it's like an auspicious sign. But here the sound of the bow and arrow actually was the opposite for the enemies, because they realized by that sound that Dhruv Maharaj is going to be victorious now, and they might have to lose the battle. And that is why it is said that translation follows that the incessant arrows and shattering of different weapons was like blasting wind. Just the way the wind scatters the clouds, it was the enemies realized that yes, our end is pretty near. So Maharaj's strength was pretty visible with that sound of his weapons.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts? Rukmini, how do you say any?
Mataji, clouds are assembled in the sky, but when the blasting wind shatters it. So it's like lamentation for the clouds. So same, it's they are saying that Dhruv Maharaj bows and arrows caused lamentation in the heart of the enemies. Means like it's not good for the clouds to get shattered. So
okay. Okay, that's an interesting one. What I was thinking was that like a mass of clouds in the sky, especially if it's like thunder clouds, like black clouds, can look very ominous, right? Oh no, it's going to be a huge storm. Look out. Close the windows, close the doors, everyone inside. But a strong wind can just blow them all the other way, right? You see it. Sometimes you see that in rainy season, big black clouds coming. You think, oh no, we're going to get, pounded on here in a minute. But then a strong wind comes and it just blows it the other way and you don't get any rain at all. So in the same way, the sky was full of weapons of, these 780,000 weapons all at once. It must have been practically blocking out the light of the sky. So many weapons, but Dhruva came along and destroyed all those weapons and just cleared up the sky. It's like the wind blew all the weapons the other way, like blowing the cloud the other way. And then the sky became clear again. All right. Last one here, text 17. The sharp arrows released from the bow of Dhruva Maharaj pierced the shields and bodies of the enemy, like thunderbolts released by the King of Heaven, which dismantle the bodies of mountains. So Dhruva's arrows pierced the bodies of the yakshas like Indra's thunderbolts dismantle the mountains. Rukmini, you like this activity here. Go ahead.
Mataji, mountains are considered to be very solid, very hard, something like very heavy. If you want to say something very big, so we take them. We take mountains, like we say about mountains. So in this, they are saying that these yakshas are not very, of very low. They are, as you were saying, that is are almost like a demigods. So they are also very powerful. As thunderbolts, means Dhruv Maharaj, arrows, sharp arrows are like thunderbolts. So when we talk about the thunderbolts of demigods like King, like Indra, put at the time when there was a Govardhan Leela. So when they said that Samantak clouds and which were falling. So I wanted to say that Dhruv Maharaj sharp arrows were like a thunderbolt, and yakshas are like yakshas bodies are like mountains. So this were like a very big devastation, something like very heavy fight. Enemies,
Okay,
arrows, both are very like this.
good. Nice. I like you really visualized the whole scene there and good enthusiasm too. Yeah, so the yakshas were as strong as mountains, but Dhruva was even stronger and he knocked them down just like Indra knocks down the mountains. Okay, fantastic. So let's go on. Someone please read 18 to 21. How the yakshas are going to respond to all this.
This is Radha Krishna Prabhuji. Are you there?
Yes, Mataji. 18 to 21. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidur, the heads of those who were cut to pieces by arrow of Dhruv Maharaj were decorated very beautifully with earrings and turbans. The legs of their bodies were as beautiful as golden palm trees. Their arms were decorated with golden bracelets and armlets, and on their heads there were very valuable helmets bedecked with gold. All these ornaments lying on that battlefield were very attractive and could bewilder the mind of a hero. The remaining yakshas, who somehow or the other were not killed, had their limbs cut to pieces by the arrows of the great warrior Dhruv Maharaj. Thus they began to flee, just as elephants flee when defeated by a lion. Dhruv Maharaj, the best of the human beings, observed that in that great battlefield, not one of the opposing soldiers were left standing with proper weapons. He then desired to see the city of Alkapuri, but he thought to himself, no one knows the plans of the mystic yakshas.
All right, thank you, Prabhu. So, yeah, in text 9, we see how all these ornaments, after Dhruva killed all the yakshas, all these ornaments are lying on the battlefield, because you know, for a Kshatriya, a good battle was a chance to show off their prowess. So when they went to the battlefield, they're going to show off, you know, so they're not just armed and dangerous, but they're also looking really, they're all dressed up. You know, they dress up for the occasion. They put on all their, you know, jeweled helmets and gold ornaments, armbands, and, you know, all these things, because it's all right, now I'm gonna make my debut here on the battlefield. So then when they were killed, then there would be all kinds of ornaments and jewels and you know, jewelry scattered all over the battlefield, which made for very lucrative booty. And sometimes the victors would be distracted because they would see, oh wow, check out that necklace there, that must be rubies and diamonds lying on the ground, you know, next to their chariot. And so they had to be very fixed to not want to go and start picking up those things too early. So here there's another analogy used here for when the yakshas began to flee, they were like elephants when defeated by a lion. So yeah, but the lion is the king of the jungle. So Dhruva Maharaj was the undisputed king of the battlefield. And when a lion attacks, the elephants are just helpless. They don't have any means to defend themselves practically. They just have to run. So the yakshas were helpless. These ones that were not killed yet, they were like, oh no, there's nothing we can do to save ourselves. We just have to get out of here. So Dhruva Maharaj, then he sees them all fleeing and he's thinking, oh, I won. It's all over. So let me just do a little tourism here, because after all, Alakapuri is a beautiful place. You know, it's in the Himalayas. It's a pristine place, beautiful mountains and scenery. So he's just about to have a victory tour when the Paramatma gives him a warning from within the heart. Not quite yet. Remember, the yakshas have mystic powers. So let's see what happens next. Someone please read text 22 to 30.
Hare Krishna. In the meantime, while Dhruv Maharaj, doubtful of his mystic enemies, was talking with his charioteer, they heard a tremendous sound as if the whole ocean were there, and they found that from the sky a great dust storm was coming over them from all directions. Text 23. Within a moment, the whole sky was overcast with dense clouds, and severe thundering was heard. There were glittering electric lightning and severe rainfall. Text 24. My dear faultless Vidur, in that rainfall there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily before Dhruv Maharaj, and there were trunks of body falling from the sky. Text 25. Next, a great mountain was visible in the sky, and from all directions hailstones fell, along with lances, clubs, swords, iron bludgeons, and great pieces of stone. Text 26. Dhruv Maharaj also saw many big serpents with angry eyes vomiting forth fire and coming to devour him, along with groups of mad elephants, lions, and tigers. Text 27. Then, as if it were a time of dissolution of the whole world, the fierce sea from foaming waves and great roaring sound came forward before him. Text 28. The demon yakshas are by nature very heinous, and by their demonic power of illusion, they can create many strange phenomena to frighten the one who is less intelligent. Text 29. When the great sage heard that Dhruv Maharaj was overpowered by the illusory mystic tricks of the demon, they immediately assembled to offer him auspicious encouragement. Text 30. All the sages said, Dear Dhruv, O son of King Uttanpad, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Shrang Adhanva, who relieves the distress of his devotee, kill all your threatening enemies. The holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, many men can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved.
Jai. Thank you. So just imagine this scene here. You know, it's very hideous and fearful scene with all kinds of disgusting substances falling from the sky, and you know, body parts, human body parts falling from the sky, along with all the same weapons that were there before, and serpents vomiting fire, and the sea coming like a high tide, like a tsunami coming to swallow you up, and all these things. So Dhruva Maharaj, for a while, he's very perplexed, and for a moment he loses his confidence and he becomes afraid, because he's thinking that, I mean, it looks like the whole world is just going to be annihilated. It looks like, you know, the time of devastation when the whole world gets flooded with water and there's all these inauspicious things happening. And so if the whole world is going to be destroyed, then he's thinking, what is my little bow and arrow going to do to stop this? It's not going to do anything. So here Maitreya had previously described the yakshas as punyajanas, but now he's calling them asurya mayayasura, which the demons, the asuras, are using their demoniac powers of illusion. So asuryas are using their mayayasura, demoniac illusions. So it's interesting, because what we see here is that people who are generally pious or generally, you know, punyajanas, they can sometimes behave like asuras. And this is especially true in Kali Yuga, when it's said that, you know, the devotees and the demons live in the same body. So we've probably all experienced how someone that we thought was a good person, we trusted them, and then they just turned on us. Or we might know somebody who, is usually sweet and gentle, but then in a certain situation, they just totally lost it and became angry and violent and destructive. So this sometimes happens, right? Everyone kind of experienced this in life, or maybe you've even seen it in yourself, that generally you're a nice person, you try to be good to people and do the right thing, but sometimes you'll just lose it and fly off the handle and say and do things that are actually quite demoniac. So this is what's going on with the yakshas. And just like Dhruva is bewildered, especially if we're in a close relationship with such people, that are sometimes nice, but sometimes they're like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, they can be nice one day and next moment they're like a monster. It can be very bewildering, and we might feel, like we're trapped in a toxic relationship or abusive relationship. But as long as we take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna is going to send help. So you see here that Krishna inspired the sages to go to Dhruva. So these sages must have been very transcendental, because they walked straight onto the battlefield in the midst of all that madness, in the midst of all that destruction. Of course, one could assume that because they're exalted sages and because all that Dhruva was seeing was actually illusion, then they may not have seen it at all, right? Because they just don't traffic with Maya, they just don't deal with Maya because they're transcendental sages. So it's just like, sometimes we are talking to somebody, we're talking to a non-devotee and trying to share Krishna consciousness with them. And their situation, they're so entangled in their situation that they can't see beyond it. But, as devotees, we can just see everything very clearly. Like, this guy's in total Maya. These are his attachments. These are his anarthas. These are his, his Maya, but he doesn't see it. For him, it's all just, this is my life, So, I think we can safely assume that the sages, they weren't affected by the illusions of the yakshas, and they just walked into the situation seeing it as a battlefield where the yakshas were pretty much defeated. It was full of dead bodies. Dhruva was standing there alone, unharmed, but very disturbed. So, in the same way, if we're having difficulties with, demoniac people or things, then Krishna will also send help. He'll inspire a senior devotee to come to the rescue, to encourage us, to tell us how to deal with our Maya, whatever illusion we're in, so that we can extricate ourselves from the situation. So the sages approach him and they say, don't worry, Krishna's going to take care of you. Krishna's got you covered. All you need to do is chant his holy name. So, because the holy name invokes the presence of Krishna. There's that nice verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that says, Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatvam Namanamino. So, Nama Chintamani Krishna, that the holy name is a touchstone. It can fulfill all the desires of anybody who touches it. And that Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha means that it's the form of all transcendental rasa. Purna, it's complete. Shuddho, it's pure. And Nitya Mukto, it's always liberated, always spiritual. And then Abhinatvam Nama Namino. There's no difference between the name and the named. So the name of Krishna is the same as Krishna because it's naming Krishna. There's no difference between the Nam and the Namino, which is the Lord. So as long as we stick to chanting the holy name of Krishna, then Krishna is going to save us. And what does he save us from? He saves us from all the dangerous situations of the world. He saves us from our own Maya. and which is in the form of our material desires and attachments, and he saves us from repeated birth and death. And that's in text 30. It says, the last two lines, Yanna Madaya Mabidaya Nishamya Chadha Lokonjasa Tarati Dushtaram Anga Mrityu. And the holy name of the Lord is as powerful as the Lord himself. Therefore, simply by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, many men can be fully protected from fierce death without difficulty. Thus, a devotee is saved. So, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about how the holy name is the panacea for all problems. It's the one solution that solves all problems in our lives, both internal problems and external problems, because it's Krishna. And Dhruva is here in Satya Yuga. So this was true in Satya Yuga, but even more so in Kali Yuga, because this is the name in which the chanting, this is the time, this is the age in which the chanting of the holy name is the Yuga Dharma. It's actually the prescribed practice, where in other ages it was more meditation, right? We saw that Dhruva Maharaj was more absorbed in Ashtanga Yoga and meditation, and when he, according to Narada Muni's instructions for what to do in Satya Yuga. Although he did have Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, but that wasn't the emphasis of his practice. So here it's like Kali Yuga, the holy name is the emphasis. It's the only way. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyata. So Srila Prabhupada says, a devotee is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his inspiration only, the sages came to encourage Dhruva Maharaj and assure them that there was no danger because he was a soul fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So, like I was saying, if we're surrendered to the Lord, then Krishna is going to send the help when we need it. He's going to inspire devotees to come, to encourage us, and to instruct us. By the grace of the Lord, if a devotee at the time of death can simply chant his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting this Mahamantra, he immediately surpasses the great ocean of the material sky and enters the spiritual sky. So, one thing very nice about living in being a member of ISKCON is that, at the time of your death, you have so many devotee friends, and even if they're not your friends, they'll just go, devotees just go to encourage and inspire us at the time of death to chant the holy name, and they'll all assemble there, around your deathbed and chant Hare Krishna for you. So this is a great benefit. This is the manifestation of Krishna's protection. He inspires devotees to come, and by the grace of the Lord, we can remember the holy names at that crucial time and go back to Godhead. The Prabhupada says he never has to come back for repetition of birth and death. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can surpass the ocean of death. So Dhruva Maharaj was certainly able to surpass the illusory magical force of feats of the yakshas, which for the time being disturbed his mind. So Prabhupada was saying that what to speak of just overcoming the illusion created by the yakshas. By this holy name you can surpass the whole ocean of material existence and repeated birth and death, and you can go back to the spiritual world. So surpassing some illusions by, few defeated creatures, there's no problem whatsoever. So as soon as Dhruva got this instruction to chant the holy name, then all the illusion is dissipated, and then he regained his enthusiasm. So let's start the next chapter, because we can take a break a little later. Let's just go right ahead, because this is anyways a good continuation of what we're talking about. So chapter 11, why don't someone read just read 1 and 2 for now.
Sri Maitra said, my dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaj heard the encouraging words of the great sages, he performed the achaman by touching water, and then took up his arrow made by Lord Narayana and fixed it upon his bow. as soon as Dhruv Maharaj joined the Narayan
Astra.
Ashtra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the Yakshas was immediately vanquished, just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self.
Okay. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was chanting the holy name, and his worshipable deity was Narayan. So then he remembered the Narayan Astra, a weapon that he had been given by the rishis. It seems that, yeah, we know that he was given this weapon by the rishis because in text 3 it says, Tasya Arsha Astram, the weapon given, by Narayan Rishi. Okay, so that must be Nara. Anyways, there must be a backstory here by which Dhruva did something to please Narayan Rishi and was given this Narayan Astra. So he chanted the holy name, and then he remembers, oh, Narayan, the weapon that I was given by Narayan Rishi. And then he picks up his weapon. So Astra means weapon. So the weapon of Narayan. And then by that, then the illusion created by the yakshas was dispelled. Just like Prabhupada quotes the verse, Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. That whoever just surrenders, who approaches the Lord, then he'll be able to easily cross beyond Maya. So when we take shelter of Krishna or Narayan, then we can cross over Maya, because Maya is Krishna's energy and it can't stand in his presence, just like the darkness cannot remain in the presence of the sun. Radhakesha Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, it is mentioned weapon made by, not mentioned as a weapon given by something. Can you please clarify?
Oh, made by Narayan Rishi? Well, what's here in the word for word translation is the weapon given by Narayan Rishi. That's in text 3. Okay, yeah. In text 1, it says Narayan Nirmitam. The weapon was made by Narayan. So looks like it was made by Narayan and also given by Narayan Rishi, according to Prabhupada's translations. I don't know the backstory, so I don't know the details. Something to investigate. Okay. So, yeah, after all, Maya is just Krishna's energy. And we know this from Vyasadev's meditation, right? When he went into meditation after being instructed by Narada Muni, in the first canto, chapter 7, text 4, there's that nice verse that ends, Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayam Cha Tad Apashrayam. That Srila Vyasadeva saw the absolute supreme personality of Godhead. So Apashyat means he saw. Purusham Purnam, he saw the complete supreme personality of Godhead. And he also saw Mayam Cha Tad Apashrayam, that Maya was under his shelter or under his control. So he saw that Maya was fully under the control of the Lord. So the yakshas, they were thinking that Maya was under their control. We are the controllers of Maya. We can throw out this illusion and we can trick the Lord's devotee. So in the same way, materialistic people nowadays who have power and influence in this world, they think that the material energy is under their control. They think, oh, I have so much money, I have so much power, I have so many resources, I can use them to increase my prestige, to elevate my position in this world. But the truth is that only Krishna is in control. It's all Krishna's energy, and everyone else is just controlled. And if people are able to have some power or influence in this world, it's just because Krishna has sanctioned it due to their past activities. So yeah, and Swayambhuva Manu is going to actually say this later in this chapter in text 27. He says that everyone, including the demigods, are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. just like bulls pulled by a rope through their noses are controlled by their owner. So sometimes we are also influenced by Maya to think that we are the controllers and the enjoyers of this world. That, you know, I'm the manager of my business, or I'm the head of my household, or the head of my department, or something like that. And when we fall under such illusion, then we also become full of anxiety. Just like Dhruva Maharaj, when he became full of anxiety because of being influenced by the illusion. So whenever we're in this illusion that I'm the controller, that I'm the enjoyer, it causes undue anxiety. But by chanting the holy name, then we can dispel the illusion. We can drive away the Maya, and we can invoke the presence of Krishna. And that way, we won't be in anxiety anymore. We'll be like in a Vaikuntha atmosphere, because in the presence of the Lord, the whole situation becomes Vaikuntha. In the presence of the holy name, when devotees are assembled chanting, you know, purely in kirtan, the whole atmosphere becomes like Vaikuntha, right? No anxiety. So we can create this situation free from illusion, free from anxiety at any moment, just by chanting the holy names. So the weapon that Dhruva Maharaj is using here is the Narayan Astra, the weapon of Narayan. But we also have a weapon that Lord Chaitanya has given us. Like it says in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32, that famous verse, Krishna Varna Tvisha Krishna, Pango Pangastra Parshadam. So Sango Panga Astra. Astra means weapon. So Lord Chaitanya, he's come in the age of Kali Yuga. He's not blackish, but he's Krishna himself. And he's come with his associates, his confidential companions, and his weapon. And so what is that weapon? Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer. And the Sankirtan Yagya, the congregational chanting of the holy names, is the weapon for this age. You know, we don't kill the demons, but we kill the demoniac mentality by giving them the holy names. And we also kill our own demoniac mentality, because we all also have a demoniac mentality within us. And we kill that too by chanting the holy names. So Yajanti hi sumeda saha. Anybody who's intelligent, who actually has good intelligence in this age, is going to make proper use of this weapon to purify themselves and to benefit the world. So, yeah. In text 3, let's see. Text 3, there's some nice, this Narayan weapon. It says that it has golden shafts and feathers like the wings of a swan. So the swan is, of course, wings of a swan. Swan is it's associated with Krishna, you know, the swans and the Yamuna, and the swan is, you know, that Prabhupada says the hamsas or paramahamsas. Transcendentalists are able to extract the essence, you know, just like swans can extract milk from a mixture of milk and water. So this is showing the transcendental qualities of this weapon. And it says it entered the enemy soldiers with a hissing sound, just as peacocks enter a forest with tumultuous crowing. So peacocks in the forest are also associated with Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's peacock feather, the peacocks dancing in the forest. So it's like, you can see like the imagery, it goes from a scene where it's all like pus and blood and mucus and stool and dead body parts and hissing snakes with fire coming out of their mouths. And now as soon as he draws the Narayan Astra, then it's a new imagery with swans and peacocks dancing in the forest and crowing beautifully and reminding everyone of Krishna. So it's like the whole mood, the whole atmosphere changes as soon as he strings this Narayan Astra on his bow and fires it. So now in text 4 also it says, let's see. Yeah, there's also this analogy here that The yakshas, just as serpents agitated by Garuda rush towards Garuda with upraised hoods, all the yaksha soldiers prepared to overcome Dhruva Maharaj with their upraised weapons. So here we have also Garuda. So we have the swans, we have the peacocks, and now we have Garuda, Krishna's, the Lord's personal carrier, being mentioned. So there's all this like auspicious language and comparisons. And so, yeah, when serpents are agitated by Garuda and try to race towards Garuda, then, the serpents don't stand a chance against Garuda. So in the same way, these yakshas, they're like snakes attacking Garuda. They won't stand a chance against Dhruva Maharaj. Amarendra Hari Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna, Mataji, my question is this, that how you can develop this faith that holy name is a solution of all the problem of our life, as mentioned in the Dhruva story. And Mataji, it acts because we are on the stage of Namaprad now. So it's happen, a solution can be happen on the stage of Namaprad also, or by taking only the pure name of Sudhanam only.
Well, the more
The
pure that
solution
we
is
chant.
on our platform.
What's that?
Yes, please. No, please continue, Mataji. Sorry.
The purer that our chanting is, the more that it's going to have effects, obviously. Namaparad is not going to have much effect at all. So we really have to like not do Namaparad. We can't offend the name. It's like, if you call Krishna and then he comes and you just ignore him or offend him, then not likely that he's going to help you. He's just going to be like, oh, all right then, bye. So we have to be very careful to avoid offending the holy name by committing the 10 offenses or the 11th offense of being inattentive while chanting. But even if our minds are a little uncontrolled, but we're trying to control the mind, if we're making an effort, then that brings our chanting to the level of namabhas, right? Even if we're inattentive sometimes, but just if we're trying to chant attentively, even if we're failing, doesn't matter. As long as we're trying to chant attentively and avoid offenses, then that's namabhas. That's like the definition of namabhas, is chanting while trying to avoid offenses. Namaparad is you don't care. You're chanting, you're inattentive, and you don't care. Like you're doing something else while chanting, and it doesn't occur to you that, oh, I should actually stop doing this and sit down and chant properly. Like that would make it namabhas if you had that thought. But a person who doesn't care, they're just like, yeah, whatever. I took this vow, I have to chant 16 rounds. Let me just get them done while I'm driving or while I'm watching TV or while I'm talking to somebody, or just clicking away on your clicker or moving your fingers along while you're totally engaged in something else, and you don't care. That's namaparad. As soon as we care, that becomes namabhas. And then Krishna's like, oh, they care about me. All right, I'll help them. Right? Krishna reciprocates. If he sees we don't care about him, then he's going to be like, all right, you don't care about me, I don't care about you. He'll just leave us. So as soon as we start to care, as soon as we start chanting with care and attention, then Krishna will give us his care and attention. You see, he reciprocates. Ye yatamam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So, yeah. And of course, if we chant purely, if we're totally absorbed in Krishna, then Krishna is also going to be totally absorbed in us. He's going to be completely attentive. He's going to be looking after every single detail of our lives. And then we won't have to worry about anything. So yeah, it's when the chanting is very pure that then Krishna is just going to solve all of our problems. If at the stage of namabhas, when we're trying to be attentive, but we're still sometimes being spaced out, then Krishna is going to help us, but problems still may come because we need the problems. In that case, it's because we need the problems, because the reason that we're not giving our full attention to Krishna is because we're still attached to other things. thinking them to be separate from Krishna. So then Krishna will give us problems, and those things that we're attached to separately from Krishna will create so many problems for us, right? By Krishna's arrangement. So if we have an unhealthy, if we're attached to something that's unfavorable, Krishna will make he'll make that thing be the cause of so much pain and trouble in our lives, so that we'll let go of it. And sometimes it's not a thing or a person, sometimes it's a mentality, like pride, or like envy or lust or something. So sometimes we're attached to our pride. We like being proud. We feel good being proud because, like, hey, I'm better than other people. I'm confident I can do things I can do amazing things. When we tell ourselves things like that, we feel good, right? It like boosts our ego, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'm good. So we get attached to those kinds of things. But then Krishna will arrange things in a way that whenever we're proud, we get smashed. Whenever we're proud, people abandon us. Whenever we're proud, we make mistakes, and we get, bad consequences for that. And then we find, till we realize that, I should be humble. Actually, I have nothing to be proud of. And then we can chant more purely as a result of that. And then Krishna can give us the full dose of mercy. So when we say that the holy name is the panacea for all problems, it doesn't mean that we won't have some problems, but it'll mean that whatever problems we do have when we chant the holy name are put there in our lives intentionally by Krishna to actually free us from the things that are causing the problems, so that we can become more absorbed in chanting the holy name. So it's all good. As long as we're chanting at least Namabas, everything's going to be okay. But we have to stop chanting Namaparad, because Namaparad, you make very little advancement. In fact, you're watering the weeds of your, anarthas. And that's why we see devotees who they're in the movement for decades sometimes, but they still have so many problems. They still have so much toxic consciousness, and they are critical of devotees. They're critical of everything. They're just very jaded and bitter and antagonistic towards the temple, even though they're still a devotee and chanting and everything. But they're not. They're a problematic personality, because they're chanting Namaparad, and they're not making advancement. They're just watering the weeds. They're just becoming more critical, more bitter. So it's very dangerous. But because they're chanting, they think that they're doing everything right. They think that they're devotees. So so they become proud, and they become more proud. So it's very problematic. So it's very important to understand what like proper chanting is, and to chant nicely. Especially now in the month of Kartik, just like really focus on sitting down, switching off everything else in your life, and just focusing on Krishna. Just be like, Krishna, now is the time that I'm going to spend with you. Other people in my life, they want this from me, they want that from me, but this is my time with you. This is your time with me. This is our time together, and I'm not going to let anyone disturb this or anything. Just switch off your phone, leave your phone in another room. I just leave my phone in another room. I don't even want to see my phone, because it's so distracting, If I just see it, I'm going to think about it, and then I think, oh, maybe there's something urgent there. Oh, maybe someone needs my help. Oh, maybe, did they reply to my message yet? Let me check. Just get that thing right out of your sight, and just be with Krishna only. Okay.
Mataji,
Yes.
means many times we listen this, and we think that yes, Harinam, holy name, is the ultimate solution of everything. But it's just like a homeopathic medicine. It works, but it will take some time.
Yeah.
But any problems comes in our life just sudden. So sudden we cannot leave everything and just start chanting. We cannot do this thing. So at that time, how we can realize that abhinatva nam namino, name and name, is non-different, and if you'll take the holy name, suddenly all problem will finish. How you can develop this faith that Nam and Nami is non-different, and especially at the time of any means disease or whatever not good situation at that time.
Okay, I think I get your
What?
question now. So yeah, so if you get a disease, if you're very sick, you have a very bad fever or something like that, then you're thinking, oh well, if the holy name is the solution for all, the panacea for all problems, then all I need to do is chant the holy name. I don't need to go to the doctor. But it doesn't quite work like that, because what happens is, like, we chant the holy name, and then Krishna, he arranges certain facilities to be there to solve our problems. It's not that just chant and everything is going to fall into place, but just chant and Krishna is going to provide you with whatever you need to solve all the problems. So that there's that story of one man. He's in his home, and a flood's coming. There's a flood warning. So the waters are starting to come in, flooding over the road, over the ground. And then the neighbors come to him and say, oh, the flood is coming. You need to get out of here. We're driving out now. Soon we won't be able to drive. Please get in the car and come with us, so that you might die now in this flood. And then the man says, no, it's okay. I'm praying to God. God's going to save me. So they're like, okay, good luck. So they drive away. Then after some time, someone comes with a boat, because now you can't go by car. Comes with a boat, and they say, quick, get in the boat. What are you doing? You're going to die here. It's a huge flood. It's going to wash away your whole house and everything. And he says, no, I'm praying to God. God's going to save me. He doesn't get in the boat. Boat goes away. Then the water's like practically coming over the roof of his house. He's standing on the roof of his house. The water's like just starting to go out on his feet. And one helicopter comes down. It throws down a ladder for him, this rope ladder. Says, climb up quick. We're here to save you. And he says, no, I'm praying to God. God's going to save me. So then the helicopter flies away, because what can it do? He doesn't grab the rope. And so then the waters come over and he dies in the flood. So then he goes, before God and he says, God, I was praying and praying. You didn't save me. He says, come on. I sent the car. I sent the boat. I sent the helicopter, like I did everything for you. Why were you so stupid to not understand that was me saving you? So in the same way, like we get sick, then some devotees come, Prabhu, you're really sick. Let me take you to a doctor. They're like, no, I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna. Krishna's going to cure. The holy name is Krishna, and Krishna is all powerful, and he can cure my disease if he wants. And no, Krishna sent the devotee to take you to the doctor so that you could get the medicine to get better. So it's not necessarily that just by chanting that everything is miraculously going to happen, but by chanting, Krishna will be present. He'll understand our need, and he'll make arrangements that the need is addressed in the appropriate way. So we shouldn't, decline Krishna's offers to help us that come through different means, that come through devotees and people who are able to help us. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Mataji, something satisfied.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So let's see. We read up to 5, right? Yeah, so here an interesting point that Prabhupada makes in text 5 is that just as devotees killed by the Lord get elevated or get liberated, so demons that are killed by devotees of the Lord, they also get elevated. And here we see that it's mentioned that these yakshas killed by Dhruva are going to Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. But then there's also the point that without devotional service, one doesn't get a permanent position in the spiritual world. So they can go to, Brahmaloka, but that's still in the material world. And, Yeah, and even like Mayavadis and personalists, Gyanis, yogis, and demons who are killed by the Lord or by devotees, they still need to come back to the material world or stay in the material world until they meet a devotee. So yeah, one time I was hearing a class, and because sometimes it seems like, oh, if the Lord or if a devotee kills someone, they just go back to Godhead. But how is it? Because they didn't, they're not devotees, they never actually became a devotee. And so one devotee, he was giving class and he said, yeah, there's nobody in Goloka hiding behind a tree smoking a cigarette. So if they still have that mentality, if they still have a sinful mentality, then just the fact that they were killed doesn't entitle them to go to Goloka. They may be killed by purified by the touch of the Lord. They may be eligible for liberation because but still they need to develop a devotional mentality. They actually have to develop a desire to serve the Lord. So for that, they need to come in contact with the devotee and be trained basically in Krishna consciousness. So there may be some exceptions to this rule, right? Like Putana, but generally that's the rule, that you don't go back to the spiritual world unless you actually not only are pure, but also you have this, you want to serve. You realize that I'm a servant of Krishna. I just want to serve Krishna. And you have a feeling of love and devotion for the Lord too. Rukmini, how do you say Vani?
Mataji, Dhruva is a devotee of the Lord, and when Lord touches his conchal to his head, he started speaking prayers. So I wanted to ask Mataji, if any non-devotee, the word I could take like it's of mentality. One is devotee and one is not devotee. It's a mentality of being a devotee or not. So Mataji, if Krishna is in front of and a person is killed by Krishna, but so does it mean like it's a big deal, Mataji? It's a big thing. Like if we talk about the Kansa, anyways, they were are they not become devotees? So mentality is a big thing. Means Krishna, if Krishna is killing someone, they get liberation only. I understood everything, but my
It
point
depends. I mean, it depends on their consciousness, and it depends on different factors, right? Like some demons that are killed by Krishna, they get sarupya or something like that. But most of them, the general thing is that demons killed by Krishna, they go to they get sayujya. They merge with Krishna, and they merge into Brahmajyoti or something like that. And they still need to come back down because you can't stay in that position. It's an unnatural position for the soul, because the natural position of the soul is to serve. And you can't serve if you merged. You have to be three things, right? The servant, the served, and the service. So that's why Vaishnavas take Sayuji Mukti to be hell, because there's no scope for serving. So they don't desire it at all. But that's what the demons get. So yeah, they might get purified of their material desires and attachments and anarthas and all those things, but they don't yet have the service mood, because the service mood is beyond purity. It's beyond liberation, right? Devotional service is a stage beyond liberation. So when we say that someone gets liberated, it doesn't mean they've come to the stage of devotional service. Devotional service is higher than liberation. A person who's a devotee is already liberated, right? It says that for a pure devotee, liberation is standing at their doorstep with folded hands asking, how can I serve you?
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Radhikesha Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji. You see, this Dantvakra and what do you call it?
Shishupal.
Shishupal merged, and Ravana got different kind of, but basically they were Jaya and Vijay. So how you see them?
Well, sometimes first they'll merge and then they'll go somewhere else after merging. That happens in some situations. Like the soul will go into the body of the Lord, and then after that it will go from there, we'll go to Vaikuntha or something like that. That's specifically described in a couple of cases. It's like a step. There's steps. So first the soul goes into Krishna, and then it goes to Vaikuntha, gets Sarupya or something like that. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Right, Mataji.
All right, so let's take a break now until 10 past, or I mean, whatever it is there, 10 minutes from now. For me, it's 3 minutes to 8. Now I'm in a different time zone. So I'll see you all in 10 minutes, okay? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. All right, welcome back. So we left off with Dhruva Maharaj killing the yakshas right, left, and center, separating their arms, legs, heads, and bellies from their bodies, and sending them to the planetary system situated above the sun globe. All right, so now let's see what's going to happen next. There's going to be some intervention by Swayambhuva Manu. So someone please read text 6 to 14. I guess good.
Text 6. When Swayambhu Manu saw that his grandson Dhruv Maharaj was killing so many of the yakshas who were not actually offenders, out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good instruction. Lord Manu said, "My dear son, please stop. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is the path to hellish life. Now you are going beyond the limit by killing yakshas who are actually not offenders. My dear son, the killing of the sinless yakshas which you have undertaken is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and irreligion. My dear son, it has been proved that you are very much affectionate towards your brother and are greatly aggrieved at his being killed by the yakshas, but just consider, for one yaksha's offense, you have killed many others who are innocent. One should not accept the body as the self and thus, like the animals, kill the bodies of others. This is specially forbidden by saintly persons who follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets, but you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go to that abode by worshipping him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Because you are a pure devotee of the Lord is always thinking of you, and you are also recognized by all his confidential devotees. Your life is meant for exemplary behavior. I am therefore surprised why have you undertaken such an abominable task. The Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. One who actually satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead during one's lifetime becomes liberated from the gross and subtle material conditions. Thus, being freed from all material modes of nature, he achieves unlimited spiritual bliss. The creation of the material... Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry. You do one more.
The creation of the material world begins with the 5 elements, and thus everything, including the body of a man or a woman, is created by these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of men and women in this material world is further increased.
Okay, just stop there, please. Thank you. So, so Swayambhuva Manu is instructing Dhruva Maharaj, and Manu is one of the 12 Mahajanas. Those instructions are very important. And the first thing he tells him is, stop. My dear son, please stop. He says, Alam vatsa atiroshena. So alam means enough, just that's enough. Stop, no more killing. But he's also very affectionate. He says, he addresses Dhruva Vatsa. Vatsa, Prabhupada translates my dear son. And Vatsa also, it means calf, right? Like Vatsasura is the demon that came as a calf. So it's a very affectionate way, my little calf, my dear boy. Vatsalya Bhav, right? Parental affection. So he says it with a lot of parental affection. After all, he's his grandfather, right? No. Wait, what's the relationship here? The Tanapad. Yeah, it's his grandfather. So he says enough of what? Ati roshena, this unnecessary anger. So ati means like very much, like just excessive. And why? Because tama dwarena papmena. This is from text 7 that I'm referring. Tama means it means ignorance, darkness, and it also means hell. So tama dwarena, this papmana, this sinful activity, this papmana, it's the gateway to hell. And Krishna says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, that Trividam narakasyedam dvaram nashanam atmana. Kama krodha tatalobas tasmat etat trayam tyajat. That there are three gates to hell. And these three things, they destroy the soul, nashanam atmana. What are they? Kama, krodha, tata, lobas, lust, anger, and greed. Therefore, tasmad etat trayam tyajat. One should give these three things up. So Manu's saying the same thing. That's why he's a Mahajana, because he's saying the same thing that Krishna said. That this anger, it's bad. It's going to destroy you, and it's a gateway to hell. So you have to give it up. So just stop. Just like put an end to this unnecessary anger. And we were talking before about how was it appropriate that Arjuna, he's kind of like Arjuna because he's in a battle with a bow and arrow, and he's a devotee. But was it appropriate for Dhruva to fight against the Yakshas? And the answer was yes, because he's the king and he has to maintain law and order. Someone's killed, he needs to get justice. He needs to make sure that the murderers are punished. But in this case, it wasn't just killing the one person, but he was killing everybody. He was going to annihilate the whole race of Yakshas. So that was Swayambhuva Manu's issue, was that it was only one Yaksha that killed your brother, and yet you're killing so many. You're killing hundreds and thousands. And Prabhupada says that this sometimes happens nowadays also, that for one man's fault, a whole state is sometimes attacked. Says this kind of wholesale attack is not approved by Manu, the father and lawgiver of the human race. Therefore, he told Dhruva to stop continuing Yakshas who were not offenders. And I was thinking, as you were reading this, I was thinking, there's one girl here she lives in the ashram. She's a young devotee, and she's from Canada. And I'm organizing a trip with a group of devotees from the USA and Canada who are going to be going to Vrindavan soon, just after in the beginning of December, for the month of December. And she's in that trip. She's been attending classes, preparing her mind for, I've been giving classes to prepare their minds, and she's bought her ticket and all that. But then there was an incident in Canada that maybe you know about, that an Indian ambassador or someone of Indian origin was killed in Canada. And so the Indian government got very angry, and they just canceled all visas to Canada, all visas of all Canadians coming to India. So Canadians can't go to India right now. There's like their visas were just null and void, or no more visas are issued for Canadians for the time being. So she was thinking, it's not fair. I didn't do anything wrong. I actually like Indian people. I'm a devotee of Krishna. I'm going to India because, to worship the land of Vrindavan, which is in India. Why are they restricting me? I'm innocent. So it's like that, for one person. There was one person that killed this, Indian gentleman, VIP person. And for that, all Canadians, every citizen of the country is being punished. So Swayambhuva Manu doesn't approve. Anyways, so let's see. So he talks, there's some discussion here about the nature of anger, which is very instructive for us, because he says that the nature of anger is that it increases unlimitedly. It's just like fire. You might build a small fire, or, if you have a gas stove, you have a flame there in your house, and it's very useful for cooking. You can make all kinds of preparations there with the help of that fire, and prepare a beautiful offering for Krishna and please the devotees. And, you can do all kinds of good things because of that fire. But if somehow the fire gets out of control and catches onto something else, and that catches onto something else, it can burn down your house, and it can, destroy everything. So fire needs to be handled very carefully. You can't leave, like your apron or a pot holder or something next to the gas burner that's going to catch on, and then catch on to and burn your house down. So we have to be very careful around fire, and we have to handle anger also very carefully, because anger has a tendency to get out of control. Like some person says something that makes you angry, and then you want to yell at that person, and maybe you do yell at that person, but then also you yell at everybody else around you. You turn around and you scream at your person that you work with, and then you go home and you like yell at the kids, and you criticize your wife, and you tell her that the prasadam that she cooked tastes horrible, or because you're angry, and the anger just like it's just mounting and growing and expanding and venting itself on everybody that you come in contact with. So you yell at the rickshaw walla who's taking you home, you kick the dog who's sleeping on your doorstep. It's like you just let your anger loose on everybody that you come in. So this is tamo dvarena papmana. When anger becomes like this, it becomes sinful, and it opens the gate to hell. So we really have to learn how to control anger. And Srila Prabhupada was a good example of this, because one thing that devotees who were with him describe is how they would be amazed that Srila Prabhupada he would call a disciple into his room who had done something wrong, who was irresponsible or negligent, had wasted Krishna's money or something in some way, and Prabhupada would be very upset, and he would yell at the person like anything. And they said when Prabhupada was angry, he was like scary, like the devotee would be shaking and wouldn't be able to speak, and like just absolutely devastated and terrified, and everybody else in the room was also just like, oh my God, Prabhupada is so angry. They would be afraid, and they would be thinking that afterwards that Prabhupada was going to still be angry for some time, but as soon as the devotee left, closed the door, and Prabhupada was left with, then he would turn around and just be as sweet as he was before, like as if nothing ever happened, as if anger had not been present at all in him. He just like totally dropped it. So, this is what we should do, is that sometimes anger is necessary for a purpose, for the right purpose. In this case, to correct a disciple and make sure he takes it seriously so that he learns and grows and improves. But, but the others are fine, so you don't need to be angry, right? Like cooking fire, you turn on the fire, you cook your sabji, and then when the sabji is done, you turn off the fire. Bus, you don't light anything else on fire. You don't set the table on fire, or the curtains, or you just cook the sabji because that was your intention. So we should use anger very intentionally, and be careful and not to let it boil over out of control. So I want to ask you a very practical question. What do you do when you feel that your anger is starting to get out of control? How do you check it so that you don't hurt or offend innocent people? If everyone shares their strategies, then we can all have a good toolkit for how to deal with anger in the future. Antaryami Balaram.
Mataji, I stop contemplating on the issue, which is giving me the anger. So the idea of the mind is to keep repeating that the issue that has happened, that somebody has said, or somebody. So as and when it gets repeated, the anger keeps boiling. So I have to cut the incident. I have to put my attention to some other thing, so that the circling of that event gets stopped. And as soon as my mind is away from that incident, then I'm able to control.
Okay, good. So you divert your mind to something else, which is not disturbing, something positive.
Yes.
Okay.
And at other side, I then also think simultaneously that whatever has happened or has been done or has been spoken to me has been done by the sanction of the Lord. So,
Okay.
I need not get angry because it has been sanctioned. And if I'm getting angry at the incident, that means I'm getting angry at the Lord, that why he has sanctioned this thing to me. So that also helps me cool off the anger.
Okay, good. That's a very devotional approach. That's very good. And actually, we're going to hear that's one of the things that Manu's going to explain to Dhruva Maharaj in a minute. Good, thank you. Amarendra Hari Prabhu. Oh, just a sec. So someone asked to repeat the question. The question is, what do you do when you feel angry to stop that anger from getting out of control and offending innocent people? Okay, Amarendra Hari Prabhu. Prabhu, we can't hear you for some reason. It looks like you're unmuted, but maybe your mic or your speaker. No, nothing's coming. Maybe what you have to do, usually what works is you have to jump out of the meeting and just join, and then you'll be good. In the meantime, we'll go to Ganga Shakti. Ganga Shakti, Mataji.
So Mataji, another thing that works is that if I remove myself from the situation which is giving me anger and create a distance between myself and the person or the situation that is evoking anger, that also helps, because till we remain in the line of fire sort of, so we are obviously getting some trouble from other people or situation. Until we are there, then obviously the anger will just keep mounting and just keep multiplying. So to cut that, that connect between yourself and the situation or the person also helps to kind of
just get some space, take a time out, remove yourself and calm down. Great. Thank you. Jagat Mata, Sachi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, what I do personally, I isolate myself from the people around me. Take a little me time, think over the situation. And if I'm hurt, I shed my tears and write my diaries.
Okay. Okay, good. So you let it out in other ways, in ways that don't harm anyone. You'll just go away and just let it out through crying or through journaling or something. Yeah, that's good, because sometimes we just, anger's inside and it wants to come out in harmful ways. But if we can find, safe ways to let it out, then that's good, because then it's out. We're not repressing it, because sometimes if we repress it, it stays inside and it just stays building up inside, and then it will explode, eventually. But if and journaling's a really good thing to do, because it gets it out, and also it helps us to process it. And often when we start writing about it, then because it engages the intelligence, rather than just the emotions, when we start to engage the intelligence, then intelligence starts, telling us things like, actually, actually Krishna's in control, like we were just hearing, this couldn't happen without Krishna. And or maybe it was my karma. Probably I did the same thing to someone in a past life, or maybe we'll remember a situation where I did the same thing to someone else, just like 2 months ago, and now it's coming back to me. And I'm like, okay, Krishna, I get it, So we can
so many things came out when we journal.
Yeah, journaling's great whenever we're experiencing any kind of troubling emotions. Okay, Amarendra Hari Prabhu, let's try again. You have to unmute yourself. You're muted.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Mataji, I apply this sloka Tatya Anukampa in my life, and I think that it's come due to my karma only. And I do whatever I can do. Else, I think that it's sanctioned by Krishna. And if Krishna is censored, then what I can do? And if I very much frustrated I become, then I start hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then everything cool down. This is the ultimate solution of my life.
Srimad Bhagavatam solves all problems, right? That's what I used to do too. Whenever I would get angry, upset, just go and open the Bhagavatam and read and read and read until it's okay. That would usually help me a lot. Yeah, thank you. Another thing I do is I'll go for a long walk. I'll just go outside, get fresh air, and just walk, japa walk, go and just like do a long japa walk, and I'll come back and be like, okay, I got a fresh perspective on things. So that can sometimes help. Rukmini Hadisevani, Mataji.
Mataji, this helps me because I think that nobody is wrong. That could be my opinion. I am right. I'm thinking I am right. The person, that person is also right, but that his opinion. The problem is like my opinion is not matching with that person's opinion. The problem is
Mhm.
the difference is this only. So what I do, I just shut my mouth and I go and associate with other people. And best way to go to temple, because in
Mm.
temples I know so many other devotees, and when I see a Vaishnava, of course I will smile and fit. And
That's nice.
another devotee will come and somebody will say Hare Krishna very smilingly, and like this. If even if I don't say, if I say on regular basis, I'm in that mood, but now somebody else will come and say, and I will not be saying Hare Krishna. No, I will also smile. So that when I meet few other devotees, so anger will go, and that anger is with the some one person, and when I come back after an hour or so, I'll be happy to forget everything.
Nice. That's good. The only danger with that is that when you go immediately to be with other devotees, if you're still a little bit angry, you might they might say, you know, oh, are you okay? And they'll be like, no, this person just did this to me and that to me, and then it becomes a little like gossipy. So you have to if you're going to go and be with other devotees, you have to like really control your mind. That okay, you're not going to be angry towards the other devotees, but you might really want to tell them what happened and how you feel about it, and which won't be good, you know, sometimes, unless it's like a mentor or something. But just general like devotees in the temple or just general friends, it's better to like not involve them, especially if it involves another person, you know. If you're angry at yourself, that's okay, then you can tell them. Like, I'm so stupid, I dropped the whole pot of milk, you know, and so clumsy or whatever, that's okay. But okay, Rai Ramananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. In those situations, I generally contemplate on the bad consequences of my anger. I generally think in that way. And also, I see the hands of Krishna, that is, this situation is due to my karma or action. So, this is the things I see in angering situations.
Good, that's very intelligent. Sometimes it can be difficult when you're actually very angry to think ahead, you know, about, okay, well, if I yell at this person, what are going to be the consequences for me? How's that going to affect me tomorrow, next week, next year? You know, like, you know, if you yell at your children or something, then the poor kids, they become afraid of you now. They become emotionally insecure and all these things, you know, and then they grow up with psychological problems, and then, you know, they can't hold a job, and yeah, like things, there are a lot of ramifications for things that we do. Or, you know, your spouse leaves you because you went home and like, you know, threw a frying pan at them or something, and so it's like, that's it, I've had it with you, I'm not taking this anymore, and then your marriage is gone and your life is finished. And yeah, so there are serious ramifications when we act, when we don't control our anger. That's good to think about. Oh, you're all very sattvic and philosophical. I was remember my father, whenever he had in the attic of our house, he had a punching bag, big, huge punching bag. And whenever he would come home from work angry, he would just go up there and poof, until he got all of his anger out, and then he would come down and he would be tired and peaceful. So that can also work. I have a friend who, yeah, he told me that when he gets angry, he goes to the gym and he'll just work out, you know, he just needs to, because he, you know, it's like the anger, it's not just an emotion, but it's like something in the body, you know. It's described also in another canto that like it makes your hand want to hit, it makes your foot want to kick, you know, it's in your senses. So sometimes you can get that out by going for a run or going to the gym and just like pumping iron with your legs and arms and getting those tendencies out. So yeah, there's no harm in making use of those types of things to avoid hurting somebody. You know, better to use our arms to lift weights than to use them to punch somebody. Okay, good. All right, so Manu makes this point here that Yeah, we were talking about ramifications of anger. So one of the ramifications that Swayambhuva Manu mentions, he says that, you know, this anger, uncontrolled anger and causing, you know, killing so many yakshas, it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the law of religion, the laws of religion and irreligion. So when we hurt innocent people because of uncontrolled anger, it's a disgrace to our families. You know, it makes, you know, it's just a bad reflection on who we are and the people that raised us in terms of our birth families, our biological families. And it's also, it is also to our spiritual families, right? The communities that we live in, and Srila Prabhupada and Bhakti, you know, Bhakti itself, because it makes us look like hypocrites that, you know, devotees are supposed to be peaceful and self-controlled and, you know, happy and all that. So what's going on? It looks like either this person's a fake, or their guru is not potent, or bhakti is just doesn't work, you know. So it can actually undermine other people's faith in Krishna consciousness when they see that, yeah, they'll see that, oh, he's a devotee and still he's angry and violent. So it seems like Krishna consciousness is pretty useless. It doesn't help one to control one's mind and senses as it's supposed to. So, yeah, we have to also see how it's going to affect others when we behave in inappropriate ways. Yeah. So, yeah, Manu says, especially one who is, this is text 10, he says, Naya Margo hi sadhu nam, especially one who is on the sadhu marg, who is on the path of becoming a sadhu. Naya Margo hi sadhu nam, and who is Rishikesha anuvartinam, following the path of Rishikesh, the controller of the senses. So you're following the path of Rishikesh, Rishikesha anuvartinam. So you should be able to also, you should be able, by the blessings of Rishikesh, who's the master of the senses, you should be able to control your senses and not use them to harm innocent people. Like that's what animals do. Animals, they'll just, you know, just ruthlessly attack another animal. But human beings are not supposed to do that, especially someone who's trying to be a sadhu. But rather, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchite, that we're supposed to engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses, and that way the senses become purified. So, yeah, something else you can do is like, actually, my mother used to do this, that whenever she got angry, she would just clean the house. She would do a maha clean of the kitchen. Whenever I saw my mother like really scrubbing the kitchen, you know, pulling out the stove and cleaning under it and wiping the walls behind the cooker and all the, you know, like things that you don't, not just an ordinary cleaning, but just really like cleaning, deep cleaning. I was like, okay, Mom, what happened? She's angry, you know. I mean, she got in a fight with my father or something, and she just has to, like, she's not going to the gym. She's just going to do like a, so that's good. You know, we can engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So, you know, go do a maha clean of the temple kitchen or your own kitchen, or, you know, something like that. And then what you're getting your energy out, and you're also doing something practical, and you're engaging your senses in the service of Rishikesha, and it's all good. So, yeah, so Swayambhuva is saying to Dhruva, he's saying, you know, he's saying basically like, you know all this, Dhruva, you're a devotee. You personally met the Lord. You're such a confidential devotee that he says in text 12, Satvam Harer Anudyatas. So Anudyatas means continually meditating on, continually thinking of something. And Satvam Harer Anudyatas. So he says that Hari is always thinking of you. The Lord is continuously meditating on you. That's how dear you are to the Lord. That's how close you are. And you've achieved the mercy of Narada Muni. So like, you're so close to the Lord, you're so dear to the Lord that he's always thinking of, you should be an example to others. But what kind of example is this? So Manu is expressing his surprise, like, this is not befitting you. You know, like Krishna says to Arjuna, this is not befitting someone who knows the higher values of life. You know, this is not befitting someone who personally met the Lord and was touched by the Lord and had a conversation with the Lord, and you know that the Lord loves so much. Like, what is going on here? This doesn't make sense. So yeah. And then he says, he talks about he says the Lord is very satisfied with devotees when they greet others with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. So he's saying, actually, this is how you should be greeting people, not with anger, not with violence, you know, but with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. So Prabhupada says these are the symptoms of a madhyam adhikari, that they're able to discriminate between different types of people in different situations and deal with them accordingly. But see, a problem with anger is that it makes us lose our discrimination. It makes us unable to actually use our intelligence. And that's what Krishna says in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, text 63. Krodhat bhavati samoha, that from anger comes delusion. And then samohat smriti vibraha, from delusion comes bewilderment of memory. And then smriti bramshad buddhi nasho, that when the memory is bewildered, then buddhi nasho, intelligence is destroyed. And Prabhupada translates, intelligence is lost. So when our intelligence is lost, then we're not able to discriminate, because discrimination is a function of the intelligence. And then we can't, we just don't know how to deal with different people. So that's what happened to Dhruva. He got angry and he wasn't able to discriminate between who was the guilty party who deserved punishment and who were innocent people who he should have actually been compassionate towards. So yeah, the Lord is to be worshipped. And then, yeah, he outlines. So the 4 qualities in this verse: tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. Prabhupada relates them to different groups. So tolerance should be, we should treat envious or antagonistic people with tolerance, titikshaya. In other words, we should just avoid them. You know, if they're criticizing us or doing something, just tolerate it. Just don't react at all. Just leave, you know, avoid them. And then mercy, karunaya, is for the innocent. So people are innocent, we should show them mercy. Friendship, maitra chakila jantushu, is for the devotees. We should make friendship with devotees. And then equality, samatrena sarvatma, is for everyone. We should see everyone equally as spirit souls, eternal servants of Krishna. But while seeing them equally, at the same time, we need to respond to them appropriately according to their dispositions, as previously stated, whether they're devotees or they're innocent or they're envious. So, and if we do that, then Bhagavan samprasidati, then the Lord is very satisfied. And that's the goal of life, right? The goal of life is to please the Lord, satisfy the Lord. So this is not just a recommendation for people who are angry, or it's not just a recommendation for preachers, or it's not just a description of the Madhyama Adhikari's symptoms, but it's actually a recipe for how to achieve the goal of life by pleasing the Lord. So this is something that we need to be very aware of in our dealings with people, how to deal with people properly and how that's pleasing to the Lord. So now in the next verse, text 14, Manu is going to describe the results of satisfying the Lord. So this is 14. He says, Samprasane Bhagavati. When the Lord is satisfied, then Purusha Prakritar Gunai Vimukto Jiva Nirmukto. Jiva Nirmukto. One becomes liberated. One becomes Jivan Mukta. Liberated even in this life. Liberated from the gross and subtle material conditions. And Brahma Nirvana Richati. One achieves unlimited spiritual bliss. So these are some really nice benefits from applying the previous verse and actually pleasing the Lord through that application. Yeah. So in illusion, we think that we're going to be happy by satisfying ourselves. Most people think that if I can get something nice to eat for myself, I'm going to be happy. If I can get some, fun association for myself, that would be good. If I can have a comfortable living space, then I'll be happy. But it doesn't really work that way. A lot of people have a lot of money, a lot of nice food, really nice place to live, all comfortable things, but they're not happy. A lot of people who are wealthy or famous, they're very depressed. They're, addicted to intoxication because they don't know how to cope with life, and they're miserable. So the actual way to be happy is to satisfy the Lord. When Krishna's happy, then we'll be happy. And when Krishna's happy, when we treat other people properly, when we make others happy, then Krishna's happy. When Krishna's happy, then we'll be happy. And so we really need to apply these principles of treating others with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. Okay, so now even after explaining all this, Manu still senses that Dhruva was still angry with the Yakshas for killing his brother. He hadn't completely given up his anger yet. Even by killing so many Yakshas, he still was harboring that anger. So now Manu is going to take another angle in his trying to pacify Dhruva, and he's going to give more of a philosophical understanding of the situation. So some of you came up with some nice philosophical points for how to deal with anger. So this is what Manu's going to say to Dhruva here. He's going to present those kinds of points, specifically that, the Yakshas are not actually the cause of your brother's death. Everything's happening by the will of the Lord. So let's read those in text 15 to 26.
Manu continued, "My dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the three modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation takes place. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. When he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced, and thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of the magnet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature. Thus, varieties of energy becomes manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing. He is not the killer. Thus it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening. My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of God is ever existing, but in the form of time. He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything. Nor is he ever exhaustible, although everything is exhausted in due course of time. The living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death. But he is personally free of birth and death. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his features of eternal time, is present in the material world and is neutral towards everyone. No one is his ally and no one is his enemy. Within the jurisdiction of time element, everyone enjoys or suffers the results of his own karma or floating activities. Hence, when the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air. So, according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material. The Supreme Personality.
Go ahead, till 26.
Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all powerful, and he awards the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, is always in his transcendental position, and there is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, still others say that it is due to desire. The absolute truth, transcendence, is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory and nor is he subject to direct experience. He is the master of variety of energies, like the full material energy, and no one can understand his plans or actions. Therefore, it should be concluded that although he is the original cause of all causes, no one can move him by mental speculation. My dear son, those Yakshas who are descendants of Priya, not actually the killers of your brother. Whether the birth and death of every living entity are caused by the spring, is certainly the cause of all forces. The spring personality of Godhead creates this material world, taints it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he is transcendental to such activities, he is never affected by ego, such action, or by the modes of material. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the super soul of all living entities. He is the controller and maintainer of everyone. Through the agency of his external energy, he creates, maintains, and lights everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prue. Okay, that was a lot of philosophy. So let's go through this a little bit. So Manu's giving different arguments. And in text 15, he starts talking about how, these bodies are just the result of sexual life of man and women. And so basically he's saying here is that Uttama is not really your brother. It's just you have a bodily relationship with him. So, it's just a bodily relationship. So don't take it so seriously because we're not the body. That means that the body relationships don't really have ultimate meaning. And so your consideration of him as your brother is not really that meaningful. And, so many people are dying every day and you're not getting angry about that. So what's so special about Uttama? The only thing that you could say is special is that he has a bodily relationship with you, but if you're not the body, then that doesn't really mean anything. So, just like you don't get upset about somebody else dying, don't get upset about Uttam dying. And then he goes on to say that the body is just a lump of 5 elements. So this is a separate argument that the body is just made of all these different elements and different combinations. And like Krishna says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, that even if you think that the body is born and dies forever, there's still no reason to lament, because if it's just like a bag full of chemicals, then who cries over the loss of a bag of chemicals, right? If you spill a beaker full of chemicals on the laboratory floor, it's not anything to get upset and kill someone over. You just get a cloth and clean it up and it's done. So you don't get emotional about it. So yeah, and in any case, Prakriti is never created or destroyed. So if it's just the body that you're worried about, then all the elements of the body still exist in a different form. They're just transformed. So that's also nothing to cry about. The chemicals are still there. They just, instead of in the beaker, they're on the floor, they're in the cloth, but they didn't cease to exist. Okay. And then, text 16. Now he's talking about how the whole creation is just Maya. And this Maya is the Lord's energy, which causes the modes to interact and manifest different forms. But it's just a temporary display. It's just an illusory display. Like, like somebody shines with a slide projector. They'll project a slide onto a screen. An image will be on the screen. but it's just a temporary display. It's not a real thing. You know, the image might be there of, you know, let's say there's a cow in a pasture with a peacock and a tree and a nice beautiful scene, and you know, you feel really good looking at it, and you think of Krishna, and oh, it's really nice and everything. But there's not actually a cow in the room. There's no cow, there's no tree, there's no peacock. It's just, it's not there, you know. It's just a temporary display. So in the same way, all the forms of the material world, including the bodies and everything that we see, feel, touch, smell, taste, here, it's all just temporary. It's a temporary show. It's just a temporary display of the Lord's illusory energy, and the modes are just interacting with that energy in different ways to create these things. But yeah, it's nothing. The appearance and disappearance, when someone turns off the slide projector, you're not going to be like, oh no, the cow's dead. Who killed the cow? What a sinful act. You know, you're not going to lament and get upset about it. It's just, you know, that it was just a display. It wasn't a real cow. So that's what he's saying here. And then he says, in any case, all of it is happening by the will of the Lord. So even if it was real, even if he was your brother, it's the Lord's will. You know, nothing, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of the Lord. And in text 17, Manu gives this nice example of a magnet. So if you have a very strong magnet, probably you've all played with magnets, right? So if you have a strong magnet and you have some little small iron nails or iron filings or something, and on the table, you can take, here's the table. So the little iron pieces are here. You can hold the magnet here. You don't even have to touch them. If you touch them, they're just immediately going to stick to it, right? But if you don't touch them, you just hold it here and you move it this way, all the little filings are going to go that way. And if you move it that way, they're just going to follow it, right? Because they're attracted to it, but it's not close enough for them to jump to it. But you can move them all over. You can move them in a circle. You can slide them to the edge, make them all fall off the table. You know, you can do all kinds of things from remotely. So that's what Krishna is doing. He's remote. You know, he's wherever he is in Vaikuntha and Goloka or Svetadweep, or, you know, he's not immediately right there, you know, physically picking people up and pushing them, you know, you go here, you do this. But he's remotely moving them around, just like from a distance, the magnet can move the iron here and there. So he says that nimitta matram literally means remote cause. From his own position, he's causing everything to happen. Although it looks like the iron filings, like if somebody had like a cloth there, or like a panel there, and the magnet was behind the panel, and then they don't see the magnet moving, they just see the iron moving. They think, oh, the iron filings are alive. Look, they're just walking across the table like that. Oh, now they're swirling around. Look, what are they doing? You know, so you think the iron filings have a life of their own, that they're deciding for themselves what they're going to do, but you don't, because you don't see the magnet. So in the same way, we don't see Krishna's hand moving things. We just see the things moving and we think, oh, everything's got a life of its own. Everything's just like totally independent and just making its own decisions. And everyone is controlling their own lives and others. But no, Krishna's moving everybody around. So the same thing, nimitta matram, remote cause. Krishna says to Arjuna, nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin, right? Become my instrument. Means let me, allow me to move you. Just allow yourself to be moved by me. It's like remote. You're like like your remote for your AC or for a toy car, like a child has a toy car with a remote control. So he's sitting there in one place and the car's going all over the place because he's got the remote control and he's directing it. So in the same way, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, just, be my toy car and I've got the remote control here and I'm gonna, allow me to move you on this battlefield, be my instrument. So actually, everybody is Krishna's instrument. See, Arjuna agreed to be Krishna's instrument, and then demonic people don't agree to be Krishna's instrument. They reject the proposal and they try to move themselves, but ultimately they're moved by the three modes of material nature anyway. So, Rukmini? Oh,
Mataji, no.
Jagat Mataji became very angelic there. Got a halo. Where that came from. Oh, okay, Rukmini, go ahead.
Mataji, non-devotee ask Krishna materialistic things. Devotees, my question is exactly, Mataji, that to become a toy or give ourselves to Krishna, as we say, nachao, nachao, Krishna chao, se mate. So, Mataji, performing the trying to perform the devotional service, but still how to overcome, like I still asked Krishna that I may get the facility to do the bhakti, the process of sadhana bhakti which I'm performing. So is
Yeah.
this a which type of desire it is, because I have not still given my remote to Krishna, but I really want to, because yes, I want to, but how to overcome this, Mataji? Intention is just to
I
do the
mean,
bhakti.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if that's your intention, then that's aligned with Krishna's own intention for you. So that's also, yeah, that's, if when you have that oneness of interest, that what you want to do with your life is also what Krishna wants you to do with your life, or what he would do with you anyway, then you want to advance in Krishna consciousness. He wants you to advance in Krishna consciousness. So, it's like you both are, you could say, yeah, you're still being Krishna's instrument. You're still doing his will, just that your will is also his will. It's not that you have a separate will. See, the thing in Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna, initially he had a separate will. He didn't want to fight. And Krishna said, no, fight, be my instrument. This is my will for you. And so then Arjuna surrendered. But if you already want to do what Krishna wants you to do, then there's no, you're already his instrument in your own life. So that's all good. Okay. All right, let's go on here. So Manu's argument is that this is the will of the Lord, and you're a devotee of the Lord. So why are you opposing it? You should just follow it. Okay. You should just accept it. Accept that the Lord wanted your brother to die, and is a devotee of the Lord. You also need to be, if the Lord is happy that he's dead, you should also be fine with that. And then he said, okay, so then after saying that it's the Lord who did this, killing Uttama and Suruchi, he says, but don't blame the Lord. In text 18, he's saying, don't blame the Lord, because he's actually not personally killing anyone, because he is akarta, he's the non-doer, and he is ahanta, the non-killer. So then if Krishna's not doing it, if Krishna didn't kill him, even though Krishna's doing everything, then how are things going on? By Krishna's energies, by his kala shakti, which agitates the modes, guna pravaha, and then produces different varieties of energy. But he says, all this is durvibhavya. Durvibhavya. It's inconceivable. It's very difficult to understand. Don't try to understand it. Just accept that this is what's going on. And then in text 19, he says, but even though the Lord is, ultimately the cause of all this, he's not touched by it, because, he existed before, during, and after, without being affected by any of these ephemeral changes in this world. And he's just neutral. He's not touched by it, and he also doesn't have any agenda to fulfill of his own. He's just neutral. So then he kind of anticipates the question here that he's thinking, Dhruva, you might wonder why the time factor, why Krishna's Kala Shakti has brought about your brother's untimely death, but others go on living. Like, why your brother? Why not someone else that was killed? And so now he's going to go into this thing about different philosophies, that people have different philosophies of life. And he lists, let's see. Yeah, he talks about these different philosophical understandings of why things happen. But he concludes that ultimately the correct philosophical understanding is that it's due to karma. So he says, yeah, that as Uttama used his time to perform activities, so time will bring the reactions of those same activities. And he's referring back to how when Uttama was there on the lap of his father, he also didn't protest. He didn't say, hey, I want my brother to sit here. And, you know, who knows? We don't hear what Uttama did, but judging by the consequences that Uttama got, we can imagine that, we can assume that he was kind of like a little proud, you know, he was like, yeah, this lap belongs to me. You're not equal to me. I'm better than you, kind of thing. That he was, had a spiteful attitude towards Dhruva. And so he's getting
Mataji, you have got muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we think that we're independent and we can do whatever we want, but in this verse it says that we are anisha, which means we are we are not the isha. We're not the controller. We're not the independent controllers. We're just helpless, like dust particles being blown here and there by the strong winds of our karma. So that's a good perspective to have on ourselves. I'm just a dust particle. That's literally what it says here. I think, which verse is that in?
20th, Mataji.
20? Verse 20. Okay, yeah. Let me go there. Yeah, he says, as the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air, so according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life. Yeah, so we're just small particles of dust being blown about by the wind of our karma, flying here, flying there, experiencing this, experiencing that. But for those who do karma or work for Vishnu, then there's no reaction, right? Yagyartat karmano nyatra. Those who faithfully surrender to Krishna in bhakti are freed from the past karma. And yeah, also that's in Brahma Samhita. Karma nirdahati. How's that go? Can't remember. Anyway, so when the winds of our karma stop blowing, then we little particles of dust can peacefully settle down at Krishna's lotus feet. And that's Lord Chaitanya's prayer, right? In Shikshastika. Kripaya tavapada pankaja stita duli sajasham vishintaya. And duli means dust. And stita means firmly situated. So my prayer is that Kripaya, please make me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. I don't want to be a particle of dust blown about this material world by the wind of karma. I want to be a particle of dust situated there, the nectar of your lotus feet. And then we'll be happy we'll be happy no matter what happens, because Krishna's lotus feet are a happy place. Okay, so then text 22, he says that how karma is born of desire. And that, you know, thinking, feeling, and willing. So first we think contemplate the objects of the senses, then we get a feeling that I want to do this, and then we actually go and do it. And that's karma, the action, and then we suffer the reaction. So it all starts with a desire. And in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is talking about the banyan tree of material existence, he says that this banyan tree is situated on desire. Its whole material existence is just existing because of desire. So, yeah, I'm going to read a little bit from text 22 purport here. It says at the end of text 22 purport, it says, the real explanation is that we are eternal servants of God, and that as soon as we forget this relationship, we're thrown into the material world, where we create our different activities and suffer or enjoy the result. We are drawn into this material world by desire, but the same desire must be purified and employed in the devotional service of the Lord. Then our disease of wandering in the universe under different forms and conditions will end. So we're here because of a desire, and we can also get out of here by desire, by desiring the right thing, by desiring to serve Krishna, using our desire, what it's for what it's meant for. Okay, then text 23, Manu, yeah, he already said that all this is inconceivable, and now he's kind of reiterating that, you know, the way the Lord is controlling everything here is just inconceivable. No one can understand his plans or his actions. And when you study Canto 1, there were Bhishma Dev's statement there to Maharaj Yudhisthira. He says, okay, this is in 1:9, 15 to 17. Bhishma Dev says, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhisthira, the son of the demigod controlling religion? Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas. O king, no one can know the plan of the Lord Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. O best among the descendants of Bharat, Yudhisthira, I maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. So he's saying the same thing. Who can understand the plan of the Lord? It's inconceivable. We can't understand why things happen, but we just have to accept it, that that's the way it is, and that the Lord is our best friend. So, yeah. We can't, just like we can't force the sun to rise, we can't force the Lord to manifest, and we also can't force his plans to become clear to us. Or the reason why he does things to become clear to us. But we just have to be patient and have faith that he is our best friend. Yeah, actually, once I was wondering about this, because sometimes, you know, you're in a situation in your life where you really just want to know, maybe you're at a crossroads or something, and you're not sure what to do. You're not sure what Krishna wants you to do with your life. And you just wish he would make it clear. You know, just like praying to Krishna, please, I want to please you. I want to serve you the way you want me to serve you. Please, you know, make it obvious to me so that I don't do something else. I just want to do what you want me to do. And so, but sometimes you can pray like that and you can still stay in a state of like not knowing what to do for a long time, you know, considerable, like frustratingly long time. So I asked the senior devotee, like, you know, if Krishna wants us to follow his will, why doesn't he just make it very clear? You know, why doesn't he just have our spiritual masters call us up on the phone and say, all right, I just had a revelation what Krishna wants you to do, this, that, and the other thing, you know, but it doesn't happen like that, does it? So I asked, why does Krishna leave us unsure about how we should serve him? And she said that, yeah, sometimes Krishna keeps us intentionally in this kind of like desperation, just to make us pray more, to take shelter of him more. And then, yeah, and when Krishna's ready, when we're actually ready, then he'll make everything clear. So because in that state, when you really want to serve Krishna, but you don't know how, it creates like a frustration, like a desperation, which makes you just like call out more and more. So Krishna, that's actually very purifying, and it's pleasing to Krishna. We're like, Krishna, tell me what to do with my life, you know. So it's good. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I was thinking when I was studying this section, I was thinking, you know, why is Manu explaining these points to Dhruva in this context of Krishna's controlling everything? He keeps emphasizing Krishna's controlling everything. And it's because Swayambhuva Manu senses a tinge of personal ambition still in Dhruva. That it's not just his duty as a king, but that he still has something to prove. You know, the same mentality that he had before, that I'm going to prove to them that I'm the best king, I'm a better king, I've got a bigger kingdom. So he still has something, I'm going to prove to those yakshas that they don't mess with me, they don't mess with my family. You know, as long as I'm king, no one's getting away with this. I'm going to make it very clear. So Swayambhuva Manu is telling him that, you know, like, you don't have to prove anything. It's not about you and your ego and your family and your power and your control. It's not about you. the Lord has all those positions. The Lord is the controller, the powerful one, the person who arranges everything, you know, like you're just a particle of dust here in the equation. So he's really like, boom, you know, he's purifying him from this personal ambition and ego and things that got him in trouble before. It's getting him in trouble again. And but Dhruva's a Kshatriya, you know, he has that passion, you know, of a king. So it's a hard lesson to learn, or you know, you could say he's a hard nut to crack. But by the help of the Lord and you know his grandfather, who's a Mahajana, and later we'll see also Kuvera preaches to him. So yeah, he's learning, he's getting purified, and he's becoming a pure devotee. He's becoming qualified to go back to Godhead, which we'll see tomorrow. So, all right. So now, after glorifying the Lord as the supreme knower and the supreme controller and the absolute truth, Swayambhuva Manu is going to very lovingly instruct, give more personal instructions to Dhruva Maharaj. So let's read the last verses here from 27 to 35, please.
Hare Krishna. My dear boy Dhruva, please surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate goal of the progress of the world. Everyone, including the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, is working under his control, just as a bull, prompted by a rope in its nose, is controlled by its owner. 28. My dear Dhruva, at the age of only 5 years, you are very, very grievously afflicted by the words of your mother's co-wife, and you very boldly gave up the protection of your mother and went to the forest to engage in the yogic process for the realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result of this, you have already achieved the topmost position in all the three worlds. 29. My dear Dhruva, please therefore turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahm. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus by self-realization, you can find this material differentiation to be mere flickering. 30. Thus, regaining your natural position and rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure and who lives in all living entities as super soul, you will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my. 31. My dear king, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please my instructions. A person who desires liberation from this material world should not fall under the control of anger, because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others. 33. My dear Dhruv, you thought that the Yakshas killed your brother, and therefore you have killed great number of them. But by this action, you have agitated the mind of Lord Shiva's brother Kuber, who is the treasurer of the demigods. Please note that your actions have been very disrespectful to Kuber and Lord Shiva. 34. For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kuber with gentle words and prayers, and thus his wrath may not affect our family. 35. Thus, Swayambhu Manu, after giving instruction to Dhruv Maharaj, his grandson received respectful obeisances from him. Then Lord Manu and the great sage went back to the respective homes. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purport of 4th Canto, 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Swayambhu Manu advises Dhruv Maharaj to stop fighting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. So yeah, so here we see Swayambhuva Manu. He's reminding Dhruva Maharaj. He's like, my dear grandson, you've been through this before, distinguishing between friends and enemies and wanting revenge at people who have offended you. So yeah, and after seeing Lord Vishnu and being touched by him, you were able to overcome these illusory conceptions of I and mine and us and them and friends and enemies. And you made us also proud of you. You know, he's saying it in a positive sense that you were illusioned before and you overcame it through devotional service, and we are also proud of you, you know. We were all applauding you and cheering you on. So now he's saying that you previously you did this, you overcame the illusory energy by the Lord's darshan, you can do it again. So yeah, the means of your success previously was the darshan of the Lord, was devotional service and the darshan of the Lord. So do that same thing again. Again, turn to the Lord, turn your face to the Lord, turn your attention to the Lord, hear about him constantly. Yeah, he says basically like, you saw him before, you can see him again through your ears. He's suggesting that you can, he says in text 29, Shutena bhuyasya rajan. So Shutena, through the ears. So a Vaishnava sees through the ears. So the first time Dhruva saw the Lord through his eyes, and now he's going to see him. Swayambhuva Manu is saying you can see him through your ears. You need to hear constantly about the Lord. And he says that this anger, it's like a disease. It's like a cancer that spreads and spreads throughout the body and can kill you. And it will increase unlimitedly, and it will kill your devotional service. So he's recognizing that you've already made so much advancement in devotional service. But if you just let anger take control of you and you don't stop it, it's actually going to kill your devotional service, because you're going to commit so many offenses, and therefore anger is the enemy of self-realization. So it's, yeah, before he compared it to a fire, now he's comparing it to a disease, but both are things that spread, that increase, and that kill, basically, that are harmful. So here he's saying that there's a medicine, but for this disease, there's a medicine. And that medicine is hearing. And this is really nice because there's a verse in the 10th canto where Parikshit Maharaj, this is a very famous verse. You'll learn this verse when you get to Bhakti Vedanta. Nivrittatasher upagiyamanad bhavo sharat shotra mano biramat. So he's saying that the right medicine, oshada. So oshadi means medicine. So he's saying bhava oshada, the medicine to cure the bhava, the material disease, or the disease of material existence, is shrotra mano viramat. So shrotra is the same thing that Swayambhuva Manu is saying here, shrutena and shrotra, that it's hearing. This medicine is taken through the ear. Usually we take medicine through the mouth, right? Or through some injection. But this medicine you take through the ear. It goes through the ear, and it goes to exactly to the place of the disease, which is the heart. And it clears it out. It destroys the disease in the heart, and it brings the heart and mind back to the healthy situation, back to the refreshed and enlivening state, which is their natural state. So, and it has a soothing effect. That's what it says. Shotra mano abhiramat. So abhiramat. Ramat is like Rama, like the reservoir of pleasure, like Krishna, like happiness. So it brings happiness. It brings joy. It's a soothing, uplifting effect on the heart and mind when we hear about who? Ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat. That's the next line of that verse. That when we hear about the qualities of Uttama Shloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's praised with transcendental poetry. And who should we hear from? That's in the first line, Nivritta Tarsher Upagiyamanad. So we should hear the songs that are sung by those who are Nivritta Tarsher, means that who are free from all material desires. Tarsher means thirst, and Nivritta means like the world, like the turnings and tidings of this world. So those who have no longer any thirst to hear about the news of the world, about politics and economics and gossip and, celebrities and musicians. And, when you don't want to hear about those things anymore, you totally lost all interest. All you want to hear about is Krishna and devotion to Krishna and spiritual topics. People who are like that, people who have that attraction only to Krishna, then hear from them, because then you're going to get it pure. If you hear from somebody who's still interested in being happy in the world, it's going to be tinged with the material desires, with material motivations, with some like mundane agenda. And it might even be exploitative, because they may be desiring to enjoy you, or something that you can do for them. And then they're speaking a certain way. But when they have no interest in anything material, they don't want anything from you. They just want you to be a pure devotee. They want you to get it, to relish Krishna Katha. Then hear from that person. And that will be a medicine. That will be a medicine that will cure your material disease, that will enliven your heart and mind and soul. So the emphasis is on hearing here. And then he goes on to say in text 32 that a devotee shouldn't be a source of fear for anyone. Now you've become fearful. You've caused anxiety for all these yakshas, and most of them are innocent. So a devotee is not supposed to cause anxiety. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that austerity of speech means one of them is speaking words that don't agitate others. So don't make people upset by your speech. Also in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who does not put others into anxiety is never a cause of disturbance for others. That person's very dear to him. So yeah, and we were seeing previously those qualities of tolerance and mercy and friendship and equal vision. So it's so important. How we deal with others is so important to our relationship with the Lord. And then if we deal wrongly with others, then it has ramifications. And he refers to that here in Dhruva Maharaj's case. He says, you've caused anxiety not only to so many innocent yakshas, but also to their leader, Kuvera, as well as his brother, Lord Shiva. So yeah, he's just trying to avenge his brother by killing yakshas. He is not thinking, oh, Kuvera is also upset with me. Lord Shiva is also upset with me. Oh no, I didn't intend to hurt them. I didn't intend to annoy them, but this is what happened. It was an unforeseen consequence. So like one of you were saying, we need to stop and think about the consequences. Who is it going to affect? What long-term consequences might this have? And then he ends by saying that your accomplishment as a child when you were 5 years old brought so much glory to our dynasty, but your activities now, which are inciting the wrath of these great personalities like Kuvera and Shiva, will certainly destroy our family. So really, you need to calm down right now and stop fighting and turn your attention towards trying to pacify these great souls, the demigods, Kuvera and Lord Shiva. So that's where this ends off. That's the end of Swayambhuva Manu's instructions. And now Dhruva has to stop fighting and think about now how is he going to pacify the senior personalities that he's annoyed. Okay, so any questions on any of these points? I like how you ask questions throughout. That helps me, and it's better than in a long class. If we have to go way back to first section, it's like, what were you talking about then? Oh. And so it's good to ask them when you go along. But if there's something from the end that you were too shy to ask, or from the last section, or some comment, then please go ahead. Yes, Rukmini Harisevani.
Mataji, Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee. Because when we read NOD, the definition of pure devotional service is Krishna, Anyavilashitashanam, Krishna, Anyavilashitashanam, Anyavilashitashanam, Gyan Karma Adi. In Adi, astrology, everything comes. So it was coming in my mind that sometime to perform bhakti, we need we use other things also, but that comes in the pure devotional service. Am I right, Mataji?
Yeah, I mean the verse there, karma, what is it? Anyavilashitashinyam, jnana karma. So jnana karma dhyanavritam. The word is avritam. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have any karma, any jnana, any of etc., any of the other things, any yoga, any whatever. But those things should not cover your bhakti. Avrita means cover. So it's not that they're totally absent. Other desires should be absent. You should desire nothing but to please Krishna. Okay, Anyabilashita Shunya. There may be some in your bhakti, there may be some tinge of karma, tinge of gyan, tinge of yoga. Maybe you're a devotee, you consult your astrology regarding your marriage or something like that. But that's not covering your bhakti. It's not competing with, it's not blocking out your bhakti. It's a part of, you're engaging those things, you're connecting them in Krishna's service. Like you want to have a good Krishna conscious marriage and raise nice children in Krishna consciousness in a stable family. So you're concerned about whether your relationship with your husband will be compatible. So you consult astrology. You're not thinking, oh, Krishna's not in control. There's no God. Everything is determined by the planets. So I have to follow astrology as my guiding principle in life. There's a difference. So that's the kind of thing that is kicked out of pure devotional service. But you can see it's like yoga, not thinking, oh, I don't want to please Krishna. I just want mystic powers. So that's kicked out. But you might do some, yoga exercises or do some pranayama sometimes to calm down your mind. I know Sachinandan Swami does those things. He does pranayama and things before he chants japa to calm his mind so that he can focus on the holy names. So when we use those things to support devotional service, that's still pure devotional service. Just they can't be used in a way that blocks out or covers, obscures the path of bhakti.
So Mataji means this is allowed. We can take help.
Yes. We can accept. That's the principle is, accept what's favorable for devotional service and reject what's unfavorable. And then we can utilize those things in the spirit of yukta vairagya in Krishna's service to support our own practice of bhakti.
Mataji, just to addition of this question, Vitrasura asked for help from Krishna. So Mataji, is Vitrasura pure devotee? But because my question is coming in my mind because when he was in a trouble, he took Krishna's help. Then again, he performed the pure devotional service. So for time being, he asked. And I'm relating this question from Dhruv Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee. But Dhruv Maharaj, first of all, he was having the material desires, but he wanted that. So now he's lamenting. And now today, what we have in 2 chapters, like, in one of the verse we read that he was doing what he was when, he wanted to have the aggression he was having at that time when he wanted to sit on the lap of his father. The same here, this time he is also having. So just wanted to know that who is a actual pure devotee. Are they all pure devotees? Vitrasura, Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj?
Well, pure devotee means that you are purely, totally applying yourself to the process. So what we see happening with Dhruva Maharaj, especially after he met Lord Vishnu and after he, was totally purified, we see that he still has this tinge of personal ambition. So it's not that, you can be a pure devotee and still have some anarthas, if you look at the analysis that I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur does in Madhurya Kadambini when he's talking about the gradual elimination of anarthas, they're not totally gone until like the bhava stage, till the level of bhava bhakti. So, sinful activities go away quickly, but the anarthas, they linger. So sometimes it happens that even we can rise to the transcendental platform. You can feel yourself, you're on the transcendental platform, pure devotional service, you're seeing everybody with love, you're totally humble, but then for whatever reason, then you kind of like dip down again into the modes, and you start, finding faults with others. And you're like, oh, before I was feeling like just full of love, like in an ecstatic kirtan or something, or when you've been on parikram or something, you're just like, oh, everybody, you're just overflowing with love, and your mood is just like respect and care, and you want to serve everyone and help everyone and be kind to everyone. And sometimes we feel like that, but then the modes just drag us down again, or maybe we commit some small offense or something, and then before you know it, then are down in the modes again, being critical, being stressed, being, angry. So, but we don't stop devotional service. That's the thing. Even when we dip down and we feel the most, so we need to take a step back from that and analyze our situation, like, oh, what happened? Now I'm in the modes again. Now I'm seeing faults again. Now I'm being critical. Oh, I almost just made an offense there. What's going on? A minute ago, I was feeling so much love for this person, and now I'm just seeing their faults. And I be like, all right, I need to like really pick up my devotional service. I don't know, whatever happened, I need to recover. And then we take shelter of Krishna. We talk to a trusted mentor. We chant extra rounds, and so that's all pure devotional service. Like there was never a point in that chronology that we weren't a pure devotee, right? It's just that you're a pure devotee who's recognizing that there are still some anarthas that still need to be worked on. So yeah, that Prabhupada famously said that when he was asked how many pure devotees in ISKCON, he said, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? because they're totally surrendered. That's the thing. They've surrendered their lives to Krishna. They just want to please Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. They don't want anything else, but they still have some bad habits, and the anarthas are still lurking there. But the thing is, they're not indulging in the anarthas. They're not they're not feeding those anarthas. They see them, and they might sometimes by habit act on them, but they hate that. They really don't like it when that happens. And they're just like, I wish this anartha could be gone, just like, Krishna, just please, Lord Nrsingadev, get in there and just like tear it out, just like you teared out the intestines of Hiranyakashipu, just tear out my lust and envy and greed and just throw it far away and let it never come back. So that's the attitude of a pure devotee.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, just one thing, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kandamani, has he mentioned any particular anartha, or all 6 anartha, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya, all will come till Bhava? You told about.
He talks about different anarthas, some that come from offenses, some that come from past sinful activities. And yeah, he doesn't break them up with lust, anger, greed like that, but he divides them up based on where they came from, the origin of those anarthas. But yeah, you can have a look at it. Priya Satyabhama.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So my question is, I have 2 little questions, Mataji. One, you said that, Putna was an exception to this. So could you please explain this a little bit? And also,
Sure.
Mataji, the second is, there were a lot of demons that Krishna killed who were, either cursed because they were devotees, but they were cursed because of something or the other. And then they, eventually came in another birth as a demon, and Krishna then liberated them. So, Mataji, in that case, how do we relate liberation to them? Because you said once you are liberated, if you do have to come back again, and you have to purify yourself, and then you can go back to the service portion, in Golok, because service, servitor, and servitee, all of that exists together. Could you just explain this a little bit?
Okay, so first of all, about Putana. So Putana is the exception, because even though she was a demon coming to kill Krishna, she went to Goloka. So that rarely happens, that a demon who hates Krishna goes to Goloka and gets a position as his nurse, serving Mother Yashoda, bathing Krishna, and things like that. So, the reason that demons don't go, to Goloka when they're killed by Krishna is because, like I said, they don't have the devotional mentality. They don't have the attitude of service that everyone in Goloka has to have, and naturally has. So they still need to be, they need to practice that. That's why often it's said that, you know, souls who are not quite perfect, they'll take birth in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed, or they'll take birth in a family of devotees, so that they can learn, they can imbibe that attitude of loving service, and then they can go back, because you need the attitude of loving service to go to Goloka. But Putana was an exception because the thing is that the way that she approached Krishna was different, because she actually approached him feigning loving devotional service. You know, she was pretending to be his loving mother. Oh, come, Krishna. Oh, you're so adorable, such a sweet child, so beautiful. Please let me feed you, like that. So, and Krishna is so gracious. Krishna is so merciful that he overlooked her intention of wanting to kill him, and he just accepted her at face value for what she was, how she was presenting herself as a loving mother. He's like, oh, because you came as a loving mother, then I'm going to give you a position as a loving mother in Goloka. But the other demons, they didn't come like that. You know, they came straight in, you know, like Aristasura, he came tearing into Vrindavan, tearing up the ground, you know, and he just came charging in to kill Krishna. He didn't come like, yeah. So her approach was different, and therefore the way that Krishna reciprocated with her was different. And then as far as, wait, I knew this was going to happen. Whenever anyone asks me two questions, I always forget the second one. Something about, go ahead, Priya Sachi, just summarize the second one quickly again.
The second one was, Mataji, you said, you know, the demons that Krishna, generally killed, most of them, if you look at the backstories, they were cursed and they were devotees like Jai Vijay, and there were others.
Okay.
You know, they were devotees ultimately who were cursed. A lot of them, at least, not all. A lot of them were devotees who were cursed, and they came in to,
so then that's
you know, give
different.
that.
Like the demons who are actually devotees who got cursed to be demons, that's different than actual demons. You know, like Kamsa was an actual demon, you know. But then, you know, all the incarnations of Jai Vijay, also Vritrasura, he was also a devotee who was cursed, like that. So for them, the fate is different because they're actually devotees who just got cursed to be demons. So then in most cases, they're cursed by, you know, other devotees. They're cursed by great sages or demigods, you know. So then Krishna always upholds the statements of his devotees. So he allows them to become demons, and as demons, then he will fight with them or arrange for them to fight with another devotee. But then when they're killed, then they go back to their original positions, or sometimes they get an even higher position, like that. So they don't go to merge into the Brahmajyoti like the real demons, the out and out Kamsa and his gang do. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
All right, Amarendra Hari Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am. Mataji, Hare Krishna, ma'am. Mataji, Bhismitama in his prayers, he told Hatagata Swarupam, who he killed by Lord Krishna, he got his Swarup. Or in the third canto, he's through, no, Uddhavji.
Who was the first person you mentioned? Sorry, I missed the first name there.
Bhism Pitama, in his prayers, he prayed at Hatagata Swarupam, means although were killed by Krishna, get his Swarup. And Uddhavji also confirmed this, Tathaiva Chanyam Narloka Viraya Ave Krishna Mukharvinnam. Ki Padmapurasya, means they all return back to Godhead, all the demons who killed by Krishna, Mataji especially. How we can understand this?
I'm just saying what is there in you know, Prabhupada's purports and the comments of the acharyas, is that it's not that they all go to the same place. You know, Putana went to Goloka, others merged into Brahman, others went to Vaikuntha and got a four-armed form there. You know, others went back to their posts in heavenly planets, or, you know, different departments in the universe that they were serving in. So, you know, it's an individual thing. So when it says when they regained their Swarupa, yeah, it may have been like as a demigod Swarupa, not their eternal Swarupa. That's this, yeah, that's, Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what I learned there in Bhaktivedanta when we were studying all this thing in the 10th canto about the different destinations of the demons. So it's more of an individual thing, you know, like it's just like at the time of death, you know, everybody goes to a different destination according to their consciousness. It's not just that, yeah, everybody who Krishna kills goes to the same place. No, it depends on their consciousness, depends on their mentality where they go. And that's what Krishna says, right? Whatever you're thinking at the time of death, that you attain without fail. That your consciousness at the time of death is the important factor. Of course, if you get killed by Krishna, then that's special mercy, you know, so then you get wherever your consciousness was, it gets a boost, you know, because you got a little bit of extra purification, extra mercy there at the time of death. So you're going to go somewhere higher than you probably deserved by Krishna's causeless mercy. But it's not the same for everyone. Because still the individual's consciousness does come into play. It is still a factor in the destination. Okay, like what's his name there? That crazy guy who tried to pretend that he was Krishna. What's his name? Pandrak, right. So he wanted so badly to be Krishna, you know, he put on 2 extra arms. So when Krishna killed him, he gave him a 4-armed form in Vaikuntha. He's like, oh, you want to have a 4-armed form? There you go. Putana, you want to be my mother? Sure, go ahead. You know, so it depends on their desire.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anything else? All right, so let's wrap it up for today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you so very much, Mataji. I guess Prabhupada Mataji ki jai.
Hare Krishna.